It's happening right now in London. New York could be next. Or Paris, or Rome, or Tokyo. It's happening right now to this girl. Perhaps it's your turn next.
We are not dealing with ordinary criminals. The real force is more sinister, more obscene than any monstrosity you can think of. Lord of corruption, master of the undead. Count Dracula. Is that what you want, Count Dracula? A last blaze of utter horror and violence, ghastly annihilation of an entire planet. Is this your own death wish?
Revenge has spread over centuries and has just begun!
By the 6,000 terrors of hell, this is Scream Addicts Hammer Pub. I am Jinx, your co-host. I'm sitting here with my co-hosts, Sally Chappell and Paul Farrell. Why 6,000? Out of any number you might have pulled out, why 6,000 terrors of hell?
That's exactly how many terrors hell has.
Yeah. Didn't you do any reading before you got on?
I thought we were supposed to research this before we
it's in the
did
Bible.
the commentary. Do we need to push this off to like another week or something? Because if you're not ready, I don't.
Didn't you read the notes? Didn't you read the Google Doc?
I thought we all shared the Google Doc that was sent out last week.
I wish there was a Google Doc. Yeah, because I'll have some things to say about the movie. May not be many things, may not be great things, but there'll be things. What I say, we'll see. I don't know. Leave me alone. Anyway, how are you both? It's been a while. By a while, I mean like 5 days.
I'm good.
Good.
Wow. Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready for October to begin. I'm ready for October 1st.
Same here. It's always that, why is it the last hour of any long trip is the longest? I feel that way kind of every spooky season too. The closer we get to October 1st, the longer it seems to take to get there. It's not fair.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of prep work though. A lot of my house is decorated. I got to do the outside. I'm doing that on October 1st. So we're going to do the outside spooky stuff. And but I've been watching a lot of horror movies, trying to get myself right in the spirit. And I've got some things planned this year I'm pretty excited about. So should be good times.
I have some plans too, but they always fail me. So we'll see if I can pull off any of them this year. I want to do Halloween Horror Nights. I'm only 2 hours away from Orlando. There's really no excuse for me having missed it for like 3 years straight, except for that damn pandemic last year. And I'm going to try and knock out every single fucking Universal classic monster movie this Halloween. So
impressive.
I'm huge. That'd be huge.
Now, when you say the classics, is that including all the sequels as well?
Every single one in order of release.
I like that.
Do you have that box set that got released a few years ago?
I do, and I got it at the weirdly super cheap price. I think it was like an Amazon Gold Box deal, and I saw it, and I was like, I'd already owned those movies on like VHS back in the day, and then DVD, and the weird sets they put out around the time that Van Helsing came out, and I'd piecemealed them here and there. And when that damn box set came out, I was like, am I gonna take that plunge again? Of course I am. And then it was like super cheap, it was like $140, and I was already kind of eyeballing the hell out of it at that point. And then I think I woke up one day and it was like $60 or $70, and I was like, yep. And just haven't gotten around to it. I love it though. Love it so much. Allie, how have you been?
I've been good. I'm in like official prep mode for like my busiest season ever. Like, I go into production this weekend on that film, The Damnations of Dracula, where I get to play Dracula. So I'm very excited.
That's so cool.
And then I go from that, have a few days break to finish up prep work on my feature, film all that during Canadian Thanksgiving, which like is the better Thanksgiving because it happens in October.
Hey.
That's fair.
Fair.
I mean, that's totally
fair. Completely fair.
And then when that's done, I jump on to another feature, and I guess I can talk about it now. I have like a smaller role. I'm like one of 3 actors in the new Blind Dead movie.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then, of course, I have the guest at Niagara Falls, or the Frightmare in the Falls, and that's going to be like a whole big thing. And I got asked to do this modeling gig for like a book cover, so it's just like a jam-packed month where I'm like, all right, inject the coffee into my veins and let's do this.
I'm gonna ask, like, have you set aside time to sleep? Does that factor into your schedule at all?
No, but I've decided to take up Coke because I've heard that's really
Okay.
good at getting energy up.
I think that's a good idea. I've heard that provides a lot of energy.
It does. And I haven't heard anyone doing anything bad on cocaine.
Hey,
No.
let me tell you something. If you don't start doing cocaine until you're older, it's easier because you're smarter about it. Because the hangovers are so awful that you say to yourself, "Okay, that was fun. Not again for another month."
Or I just never stop doing it, and then I don't get the hangover. It's basically what I do with drinking.
That's always worked. That's worked well for so many people. Musicians.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I tried Coke when I was in high school, and I didn't see the appeal of it.
Cool guy. Mr. Cool
No,
guy.
I mean it fucking burned
Put us all
like
to
hell.
shame. Jesus.
No, seriously,
I tried Coke in like high school and college.
I did lines of it off of like the marble countertop in my science classroom when the teacher wasn't looking. It fucking burned like hell over the course. Seriously,
Have you always lived in Florida?
It fucking stung so much, but I'm not a quitter. The next day, I tried Diet Coke. The day after, I tried Sprite. The day after that, I switched to Pepsi products. That fucking hurt even more.
Jinx, I'm finding all kinds of things. This every day is a new surprise with you. I feel like the next line you're going to say is like, and then, I killed a man just to watch him die.
I mean, haven't we all done that?
Just to watch him die. The fucker had it coming. No, I'm kidding. As far as actual what we're talking about, the powdery substance, no, I am straight edge as can be. I've never touched the stuff. So I was trying to make a funny about the cola and snorting it, and it landed with a thud. So we're just we're gonna move on
because you set up the story so well. You're like, in high school, in class.
Weirdly enough, I did borrow a bit of a story from a classmate who did actually do lines of Coke every class with a rolled up $100 bill. And we were all in high school, and this person was not like super wealthy, and I'm like, why not just a $1 bill?
Because $1 bills are for poor people. If you're gonna snort Coke, underwear nothing.
But they were poor.
Less people touch $100 bills and stuff. Like more people touch dollar bills.
Yeah. Also true.
You gotta be thinking about those germs.
This is the wildest opening any Hammer Pub has ever had, and I'm okay with that. You know what? We actually haven't done an introduction to our guests this evening. Returning from Dracula AD 1972 to see out the sequel is Mike Vanderbilt. Mike, how are you?
Great. I had so much fun the last time. I'm so happy you guys have me back. Even if this one is not one of my favorite Hammer entries, there's enough to talk about with this one, I think. Well, we're not going to be. There's got to be any dearth of conversation, I'm sure.
And also returning from last week, everyone put your hands together for Michael Verratti. Michael,
I don't think he's here.
Michael,
Michael,
is he? Has anybody seen Michael? Mr. Verratti?
Crickets.
Crickets.
Okay, so it's just going to be the four of us this evening. You know what? That makes sense in a way. Moving from Dracula AD 1972 to Satanic Rites of Dracula, those movies lost to Stephanie Beacham. We as a podcast, we have lost Michael Verratti. Unfortunately, I feel like it's not fair. We do not have our own Joanna Lumley to take the place of our fallen guest host, so that bums me out a little bit. But you know what? We're going to make do. It might be a little bit disappointing, but given that we're talking about the Satanic Rites of Dracula, it's maybe fitting that it's a tad disappointing. We'll see how that goes.
But Michael will be missed. He will be missed.
He will, and he's always welcome back. Now, before we do the typical commentary thing with Satanic Rites, we're going to go ahead and go around and chat our recent watches. Mike, what have you seen in the last 5 days since we last recorded?
I did watch. I did watch a couple flicks because I watched a couple flicks for the Windy City Double Feature Picture Show podcast. Right now, actually, as we're recording, I'm just coming from hosting. We were screening Blood Feast and Scum of the Earth, two Herschel Gordon Lewis classics in the garden of the Music Box Theater. So I watched both of those. Have you guys seen Blood Feast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's awesome, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that is true outsider art. Have you ever seen Scum of the Earth, though?
Never have.
I've not seen that. No.
Scum of the Earth was shot back to back with Blood Feast, featuring a lot of the same cast, although most of the people on it changed their names for it because this is the one they were embarrassed by. They weren't necessarily embarrassed by Blood Feast. They were embarrassed by Scum of the Earth. And whereas Blood Feast has the reputation as being the first gore film, Scum of the Earth is noted as being the first roughie, which, for those of you who don't know, it's essentially sexploitation where the women get roughed up a little bit because you can't show the actual sex, but you have to give people something lurid to watch. And that was acceptable. The sex, not so much. We don't want to see anybody having a good time. So this was known as the first roughie, and it's something. It's typical Herschel Gordon Lewis, over-the-top acting, real inept filmmaking, but truly something to behold.
Now, is that part of the? I have yet to pick up that big box set that Arrow put out a couple of years ago. I need to, but is that a part of it, or is that
Scum of the Earth is generally featured as part of a bonus feature with Blood Feast? And for this double feature, for our episode of the show, we were recreating a double feature that played in Chicago in August of 1963 at the Starlight Drive-In, which was owned by Stan Kohlberg, who was also a money man in Blood Feast and Scum of the Earth. So they're all connected. Herschel Gordon Lewis is a Chicago guy, and so is Dave Friedman, the producer. Those two movies were shot down in Miami, but they have strong Chicago connections. Did a lot of nudie films up here, which I love that Chicago essentially gave birth to Herschel Gordon Lewis and Russ Meyer.
Okay. All right.
See, Florida can't even fully claim H.G. Lewis. Like we're so uncool that we don't even fully get it.
Chicagoans went down to Miami to slum it. They said, we need to make this look nasty. You know.
Hey, Florida's got some good stuff. Wasn't like Miami Vice shot there?
Indeed it was.
Yeah, and didn't Gianni Versace get murdered there?
Holy man.
There you go.
See, you got stuff to offer. You're fine.
We've got Michael Mann and Andrew Cunanan. That's about all we got so far.
That's a name I ain't heard in a minute. My goodness.
Yeah.
I watched the recent what was it? American History. What the fuck is that?
American Crime.
American Crime Story. Thank you. Which weirdly enough, the O.J. Simpson season of that was surprisingly fucking great. And I started the Gianni Versace one, and it was interesting. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm trying to work my way toward the Bill Clinton season, just because I don't know if it's going to be a home run or a complete fucking disaster. But either way, there's a bit of genius casting Clive Owen as Bill Clinton. It's genius that I maybe can't see or understand or appreciate or get on the same level of, but nevertheless, I need to witness it. I feel.
Well, I think the good thing about impeachment is that they actually, like, Monica Lewinsky was part of creating it. So we actually get to hear her side of the story and not just the side that was telegraphed by the media.
Nice. I do appreciate that.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I did appreciate that about O.J. Simpson, where, as a kid, I was utterly fascinated by that trial. I would race home after school every day. I was a fucking nerd. I would race home after school every day to catch as much of the trial as I possibly could. And I had nobody to talk to about it. Nobody at school was interested in this shit. But weirdly enough, they actually, the day that the verdict was read, I think it was in the last hour of classes, everyone was called to like the nearest room that had a television in it. And we all together watched the verdict.
Yep.
Like it was.
I was in lunch. I was at lunch when it happened.
Really? Yeah. And I just remember like
in high school.
Yeah, I'm from a small southern Ohio town, so you can imagine the in the 80s, 90s, kind of a hotbed for racism here and there. And so people none too happy. Weirdly enough, like when I was a kid, just watching what came about in that trial, I got to tell you, I feel fucking dumb for even saying this now, but at the time, I was certain the man was innocent. I truly believed that the LAPD was fucking framing him. and doing a shit job of it. And then as soon as all the stuff started coming out in the civil trial, like I was like, oh no, he fucking killed her. Like that's what happened. He did it. He's guilty.
I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, so everybody was very excited because we are a hotbed for toxic masculinity. So they were very excited. Whether he murdered her or not, they were just happy to see that OJ got off. Because I remember the school like erupted because the teachers all had it on their television in the classrooms, and like everybody cheered.
Wow.
Did anybody watch that massive documentary that came out? Thing was awesome.
It played in Toronto as like an 8-hour movie.
Yes.
It was amazing because you could just like leave the theater, get a full pizza, come back, take a nap midway through. Like it was 8 hours of just OJ.
My God, I gotta watch that.
I
remember the trial.
It's totally compelling. I tend to, when it comes to television, I tend to like get 2 episodes in before I tune out with anything. But I was coming home from work every night, like 10 and bar, like 1, 2 in the morning, and just have to get into the new episode. And I think it's something to be said for everybody our age. Like we remember that happening in our lifetime. So It's definitely interesting to look at it with adult eyes and say, like, remembering where you were, even if it was just in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, that damn Bronco. Like I know exactly where I was. I remember what I was wearing, weirdly enough. Like that moment is so firmly etched. It's like fucking 9/11. Like I remember that morning with crystal clarity, even though it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Friday afternoon, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective had come out on VHS that day because I bought it. And I remember I was excited to watch Ace Ventura, but instead I just was compelled watching the Bronco chase. And now whenever I think of the Bronco chase, I just think, because they play the clip on Howard Stern station on Sirius all the time, was the fake caller that got in and did a Baba Booey to Al Michaels. And Al Michaels' response was just like real cool and collected. I believe that's a prank call from a popular radio show. Don't take it as seriously. But they played the clip all the time on the show.
I love it. Yeah, American Crime Story is interesting in that regard because it kind of shines light behind the scenes and like all the stuff that we didn't see, and it's really kind of fascinating for fleshing some of that stuff out and showing, like, even down to the trial, like, some of the iconic moments, certainly like what went into the big trying the glove on moment, but also like what impact it had on everybody as just like human beings being under a microscope at that time and knowing that the entire nation is watching you every single day, and like the kind of pressure that must have been like. And I can't recommend it enough. So it's kind of neat that Monica Lewinsky is an advisor on impeachment. I think that's really cool.
So I did want to add one movie that I did watch this week that I'm sure you guys have an opinion on is 1959's The Mummy from Hammer Productions.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the reason I was watching it is because when does this episode come out?
It will either be 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. I'm not certain. Depending on our recording schedule, we're either going to keep it weekly or we're going to go bi-weekly long enough to cover us through October.
Well, it doesn't matter that much, but we are Windy City Double Feature is screening that at the Music Box of Horrors Drive-In this year alongside Curse of the Undead. We're recreating a double feature that hit Chicago in 1959.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that you guys do that. That sounds amazing.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. That'll be on the big screen. And, of course, obviously, The Mummy, one of the best Hammer productions, yes?
Yes.
No, it's great.
The Mummy is so good. We should all love Egypt-themed horror movies.
Unfortunately, it kicked off a franchise that maybe
Feast.
didn't always live up to its promise.
Even the bad ones are so good. We should respect them.
Mummy Shroud I could do without.
Yeah.
But no, the original Mummy, I mean, well, plus that was Terrence Fisher, like, in his prime, too. And that also, like, was one of the most, like, visually interesting movies. Like, that was one of the first ones that really kind of went a different direction with the Gothic stylings that was kind of present in, like, Curse of Frankenstein and the original Dracula. It was such a different looking movie, and the scope of it was a little bit wider, and it really kicked Hammer into gear heading into its golden it's really its golden years in the early 60s.
And it really showcases what a big dude Christopher Lee is.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably more so than any other role. Weirdly, and I don't know why that's the case. You would think that, he's meant to be imposing, obviously, as Dracula. He's meant to be, this big lumbering beast in, Curse of Frankenstein. But why is it as the Mummy you really get a sense of how damn big the guy was in comparison to everybody else?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's something about it. Like, I was like, man, he's a big dude in this.
Yeah, he's, and I gotta say, like, he might be. I know it's sacrilege. I get it. Like, and plus, all respect to Karloff. Karloff looked amazing. That Jack Pierce design that we got to see for about 120 seconds at the very beginning of the first, Universal movie is amazing. They probably should have, showed that more. But I gotta say, there's something about the EC Comics either inspired or, the EC Comics precursor. Just the look of Lee's mummy is my favorite fucking mummy.
To that point, like, he looks like what you expect the mummy to look like.
Yes, yeah. It feels like they follow up on like the Universal stuff like Imhotep and Karis. And they're like, well, what if we just refine this? What if we brought it to its natural like conclusion and just show what the best possible version of that character would look like? And honestly, I don't think it's been topped. It's 50 years old now, 60 years nearly, and look, I love the Brendan Fraser mummy. I love you, Arnold Vosloo, but you don't.
1982's Time Walker about the space.
My other favorite mummy thing is that short in Tales from the Dark Side.
That's another good one.
That's a really good mummy thing.
Yeah, that the ending is great. And plus Christian Slater is so fucking good. That movie doesn't get nearly enough love.
No, it's great.
I believe it was originally intended to be Creepshow 3. I could be wrong.
Yes, it totally was.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
And then we actually got a Creepshow 3 and
that's that one.
Yeah.
I've seen the trailer, and the trailer was, and you gotta understand, like I have that collecting bug where, especially when it comes to franchises I love, and by love I mean I could love just one entry, and I will need all of them, even if I will never watch them, right? And when it comes to Creepshow, like I fucking adore that first movie. I think the second movie has some merits, not a lot, but some. I'm picking up I'm picking up.
Be careful about Creepshow 2.
Woodenhead's terrible.
It's amazing.
Amazing. Really bad.
It's great.
I'm picking up the Shudder releases, the Blu-ray releases of the the Creepshow seasons, but I've seen the trailer to Creepshow 3, and I was just kind of like, nope, don't need it. I'm good. Maybe if I ran across it and it was super cheap, but I mean, you have to import the Blu-ray, otherwise you have to put up with the DVD here in the States, and the DVD is super expensive, and I don't have time for that. I refuse.
Understandable.
How did we get here? I'm sorry. The Mummy. I adore Christopher Lee's Mummy. I think, I'm going to go ahead and say it. He's my favorite. Whoa, filled the room. Sorry. Anybody?
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I love Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. That's the one I really like. But it's a different movie. I don't think it's better than Terrence Fisher's The Mummy. I just have a little bit more fun with it, hammer-wise. But I can't disagree that's probably the best sort of screen version of The Mummy as a monster.
No, I hear you. Paul, how about you? What have you seen recently?
Well, I've watched a couple things. I'll try to keep it brief. I watched 1999's Resurrection.
Yes.
Put out by Vinegar Syndrome. What am I saying?
I love that movie so
much. I had never seen it. I had somehow missed it. I can't believe I didn't see it because it kind of has all the trappings of a movie I would have wanted to watch in 1999, but it somehow missed me. Directed by Russell Mulcahy, who has a pretty interesting filmography, as we probably all know. And this movie it's starring Christopher Lambert, and it is, it's pretty wild. It kind of feels like, I mean, I know it's very clearly trying to be kind of a post-7, serial killer that's using religious iconography to kind of like tell his story and leave hints at what he's trying to do. Unfortunately, the the Blu-ray box art like gives away kind of like the master plan that the serial killer has, which is very, and I almost like hesitate to say what it is, but then again, if you go buy this movie, you're gonna see the cover. So I don't really know how to proceed. What I'll say, I guess I'll try to keep it spoiler free as best as possible. It's very, very stylized, maybe to a fault. Like everything is like, the camera moves a lot, but there's not always a reason for it to move other than it just looks cool, which I'm not against. That can be fun, but it gets a little dizzying sometimes and distracting. But it definitely has kind of an I don't give a fuck attitude, which I really, really liked. It never, ever stops. Like every scene just moves. It's very over the top. Like the performances are pretty intense. Like emotion is cranked up to 11 in every single scene, whether it needs to be or not. But having said all of that, it's very, very disturbing and effective in its horror. The killer, like the little mask the killer wears, is really creepy. What the killer is doing is, again, incredibly disturbing. There's a pretty good fake out here and there around what you think is going to happen versus what is actually happening. And it stacks up, like in terms of, I'll say this, in terms of all of the sort of post-7, very intense cop procedural crime movies, this is probably one of my favorites, if for no other reason than it goes much farther than the average movie like that ever attempts to go. And I kind of have a level of respect for that. And it definitely, it feels like the right kind of movie for Vinegar Syndrome to put out. So, I definitely recommend it. Really, really interesting flick that I will probably show to friends in the future. So, yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Mike, Allie, have you both seen it?
This is a new one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
if you watch it, try to close your eyes when you pick up the Blu-ray so you don't see the cover.
Or just don't pay that much attention to it.
Is it new from Vinegar Syndrome?
Yes. Yeah, it's out in this month's package.
Oh, then I'll probably get it. I am a yearly subscriber.
Oh, okay, yeah, me too. Yeah,
so don't look at the
you'll
box.
get it.
Okay.
Yeah, just like pop it out really quick and just just put it in and watch it.
I remember in the old days of like horror movie message boards, long before social media was kind of a thing, or social media apps anyway. There was a board called horrormovies.com. And I just remember everybody going nuts for that movie. And it was straight to, I don't even know if it went to VHS first. I think it was like a Cinemax premiere or something like that. It eventually hit VHS because I remember annoying the hell out of my local movie gallery to have their copy of the poster, which they didn't even bother putting up. And that it went up on my wall. And it's just a picture of like, Christophe Lambert's face and some dodgy dark shit happening in the background, and then like a very 70s title treatment for the title Resurrection. But I don't know. I think by that point, I think it was 99 when it came out, I was already kind of over the 7 knockoffs. And so to see one that was not only pretty good, but one that was actually fucking great was a bit of a surprise. And I adore it. Like I said, Russell Mulcahy, he's had a really interesting career, and it was really interesting to see him working with his Highlander star, in Lambert again. And I think Lambert is great in it. Robert Joy is fucking fantastic in it. Leland Orser is great in it. Like, it's got a great cast. David Cronenberg gives a rock solid performance in the film.
Cronenberg's in it. Yeah.
I love his, that's, between I think everybody knows that he did Decker in Nightbreed, but otherwise he's kind of cameo guy, right? It's you're watching like Alias, the TV show, and it's like, oh hey, there's David Cronenberg. Or you're watching Blood and Donuts, it's like, oh hey, there's David Cronenberg. He has a meaty role in Resurrection where, yeah, he might not be in it a whole hell of a lot, but his performance is fucking great. There's this moment, if I remember correctly, Christophe Lambert's character is a guy who lost his faith, but nevertheless has stayed friends with, Cronenberg's. Is he a priest, Paul?
Yeah, and I apologize. I said Lambert earlier, and I know it's Lambert. Now I sound like a shitty poser film guy. But he.
Paul, I called him Christopher Lambert until I was 27 years old, so you're okay.
Is Lambert are you talking about Lambert? Or are you talking about Cronenberg's character?
Cronenberg, he's a man of God.
Cronenberg, yeah, he's a priest.
Okay, so there's this great moment. It's this wonderful bit of acting from Cronenberg. It's so fucking subtle, but obviously there's that kind of dialogue. They've remained friends, but Cronenberg, as a priest, knows that Lambert has kind of lost his faith, and he comes to him for help, but he refuses to actually walk into the church. He kind of stays right at the edge of the door, and Cronenberg doesn't realize it as he's like gathering up a Bible, and he turns thinking that Lambert will be right next to him, sees that he isn't, looks up, sees him like right at the edge of the door, refusing to walk in, and he just kind of wilts a little bit. Like he's kind of sad, but he's also kind of like pissed off a little bit. It's just, I don't know, it's great. I think I wish in some wonderful alternate reality Cronenberg worked as much as an actor as he did a filmmaker. Well, possibly even more. But yeah, that movie I absolutely adored. I can't wait to pick up the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. I was going to order it at my local Grindhouse Video and go and pick it up, and just got the notification today that Grindhouse Video is actually closing up shop for good and moving to Knoxville. So I'm more than...
That's lame. Then you get to go to like a big closeout sale and buy a bunch of stuff?
I don't even think they're doing that. I think
Grindhouse Video. Is that the Daily Grindhouse guys?
No. It's this little place in Tampa. It was just a great physical media shop. You walk in and they have like loads and loads of anything you would want to buy.
They had a video store down in Florida. The guys who own the site. I wonder if it's the same place.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I never knew about that connection. And I know he has the guy from Grindhouse. It's GHV. He does like a Sunday night video show on YouTube, I think. But otherwise, I didn't think he did podcasts. But maybe. I don't know. But I'm going to miss it because it was so nice, like an hour away to walk into an honest-to-goodness video store that is tailored specifically to fans of like horror movies and exploitation flicks, where you could buy any, and I do mean any, labels, brand new Blu-ray or DVD, loads of used stuff, like great prices, old magazines, VHS, video discs from the 70s, toys, anything you could want. The place was a wonderland. And I think the last time I went was in February of 2020. Then the pandemic hit. And then when the pandemic, well, at least when I got vaccinated, that was one of the places that I raced to first. And I found out that they were closing up shop. And I just, yeah. Do you remember the end of The Mist where Thomas Jane kills everybody and then he realizes if he'd waited just a minute longer, like they might have been safe? Yeah, no, it's 14 years old. 14 years old. And he falls to his knees and he does that great sort of wail. I'm not saying that I did that in the parking lot of the video store, but I'm not saying that.
Are you saying that you killed everyone inside of the video store first?
Yeah.
Yeah, you getting real dark with this?
Did you snort a couple lines of coke?
Yeah, the show's finally getting dark.
Yeah.
I admit nothing. Allie, what have you seen recently?
All right. So right off the bat, it's not horror, but I just need to talk about it. I saw The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Oh, wow. How was that?
It is so good. One, Michael Showalter is the director, and I just think he's, across the board, one of the like funniest, most creative humans alive. Because he's part of like the Wet Hot American Summer and Wanderlust and all those kind of crews.
Yeah.
And then Jessica Chastain, like, is Tammy Faye. Like in the beginning when it's like her being a young kid, you're like, okay, yeah, I see Jessica Chastain. And then as she ages, you're like, no, that's Tammy Faye. Like it is uncanny. And growing up in like a very religious household, like everything came flooding back in that movie theater. And for some reason, I was like singing along, and I'm like, why do I know all the words? Why do I know these songs? What is happening in my life? But it's just, oh, it's so good. And like, yeah, they're shitty people, but like, it is such an interesting story.
Are they because the thing, watching the trailer, I was like, I need to see this for the performances alone, but I got the feeling that they were gonna try and do a little like image rehabilitation for Tammy Faye and make it seem like she was just swept up in her husband's machinations, and she was not at fault at all. And I was just like, I remember watching that trailer and getting to the end of it, and I was just like, bullshit. Like I refuse to believe that, but I don't know.
No, they are like Tammy Faye's not that great either.
Okay, good.
Like she's a pretty willing participant in all the things that go down. But she plays that like, oh, I had no idea. But it's like you fucking knew. Like there's no way you knew they didn't know that you weren't taking money from all of your like quote unquote partners, which were just people donating money to you guys. And it was just everyone needs to go and see it.
Yeah, they're terrible people.
It's super good. And just it's so good. I've been waiting for this movie for like 6 years.
I love Jessica Chastain, and it does look amazing. I want to see it. I really do. Is it in theaters right now, or is it on VOD? Like, how did they release that?
Saw it in theaters. I don't think it's on VOD just yet. Like, I feel like they said for September it was going to be in theaters because it just finished playing TIFF.
Yeah, I think it's still just in theaters. I don't think it's on VOD yet.
I don't know how stuff works in the States because obviously it's completely different.
I need to do a Tammy Faye Venom double feature on Thursday. See how that goes.
That sounds good.
And it goes together quite nicely.
do a little coke first in the bathroom and get kind of pumped up.
Really into it. Get your lip liner and you're good. But yeah, outside of that, I marathoned the entire series of Midnight Mass, the new Mike Flanagan show.
Okay, gonna hop off here for 5 minutes. Goodbye.
And I'm not gonna give away any spoilers, but like, holy fuck, Mike Flanagan is batting 1,000 every single time he makes something new. And I love that he's always using the same kind of reoccurring cast, like Katie Siegel and Raul, I can't think of his last name, and Alex Esso and Mike Trucco, and like all these people. But now he's adding in Hamish Linklater, who I have like had a crush on for like 10 years. And it's so good to see him in this like preacher role where he's playing like a priest, and it's deep and dark and menacing, and it's just so good, and it's so beautifully acted. Like this show is straight up like an actor's dream because like, okay, the only spoiler alert I'm going to give is that there's a lot of monologues, but it works.
Spoilers for all you monologue heads.
Freaks out there. A lot of monologues. Like every character gets like 5. It's amazing. So like they get this chance to like just have like 5 minutes of screen time that's just them and getting all their emotions out and fucking holding nothing back and leaving it all on the floor. And like every episode I was like, I'm gonna learn that monologue. Ooh, I'm gonna learn that monologue. And like I'm just gonna memorize the entire show now because it's just so good and so well acted and so well directed. And like I want to spoil it so bad. But I won't.
When we all finish it, we can have a spoiler chat. We can have like a more in-depth, because I saw the pilot.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it like when I watch a show with my wife, she like, if we watch it together, that means we have to have like the exact right amount of time together to watch an episode. And like with the kids and how busy we are, and then like she gets like tired really early. So like last night I was like, oh, let's watch an episode. She's like, it's 9:15. I'm pretty tired. And I'm like, okay, well, we're never gonna watch this show, are we? But we watched the first one. Yeah, but we both loved it. I mean, the pilot was great, and it, like you said, it really it gives all of the characters sort of time to breathe. That's probably the best thing that Flanagan typically does, is his characters are so well realized, and then he gives them the time to sort of interact together, interact alone, like lets them sort of feel out their characters. This show right from the jump has like incredibly iconic, truly terrifying like horror iconography built into it. Like and this isn't a spoiler because it happens within seconds of the show beginning, but the image the guy sees before bed every night, like reminding of this horrible thing he's done, is one of the creepiest specters I've seen in a horror thing in years.
So, yeah, it's so unique the way that he did it, where like with the flashing lights.
Yeah,
on,
right.
Like it's
yeah,
so
the lights. Yeah, it's great. It's a bit of Stephen King, but it. Yeah, right. It's his influences are worn on his sleeve.
Oh, when you get like maybe you're at episode 1. Okay, when you get like a couple more episodes in, you're like, oh, I know exactly what story this is. Like,
well, and there's even some like Night of the Hunter right out the gate in there. Like there's all kinds of great. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be more as it goes, but I'm really excited to see it. I'm excited that we have a filmmaker like Flanagan operating right now, and I'm excited that Netflix sort of, I guess, understands that he's as talented as he is and just is throwing money at him. I think that's pretty great. So, like, I mean, yeah, let's do it. Give the man a bunch of money and let him go, and let's see what happens. Like, this is great.
And it's getting great.
Yeah.
Everyone on Twitter is like, oh my God, I marathon this whole show in like a day. I'm like, see, you give a good filmmaker some money and get you the audience. Like,
I just can't do that. I can't do 10 hours in a day, but I appreciate and respect people who
because
do.
You have kids. I don't. I'm over here all lonely and shit. Obviously I can waste a day watching a full screen. Just crying, the usual stuff. It's just like,
sometimes a good cry can be pretty cathartic.
And Mike Flanagan just truly knows how to tell a story and how to like cast actors in like such a perfect way. And like there's some stuff you see in the first episode that, again, I can't spoil, but there's some stuff you see in the first episode where you're like, well, that doesn't look right, and then it pays off and you're like, I fucking knew that didn't look right. Like it's just chef's kiss for Mike Flanagan forever. Like, me and him we're gonna get married one day. I'm gonna go back to religion for him. Like, it's gonna be great.
Mike, have you seen it?
No, anything made after 1997, I'm not gonna get around to.
Wow, how?
Resurrection just missed you.
Yeah.
The couple I will too late.
I always put trust in Vinegar Syndrome, though.
True.
Especially when I'm spending the money for the yearly subscription.
Yeah, you might as well if you're already shelling out for it.
The thing is, like, it's great. It's a great deal.
Yeah,
but, like, I have stacks of shit that I have not watched.
Oh, dude, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, every month I'm getting like 4 or 5 movies. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
I justify it to myself is that I am funding film restoration.
Yep, me too.
Because they need that money right in front. And a lot of this stuff, if anybody really wanted it, I'd sell it to them. I might give it to them. I don't know. Somebody might get a real nice present for Christmas. I don't know.
I'm kind of the same. Weirdly enough, I said I'm not going to have a lot to talk about. In point of fact, I don't really have anything to talk about watch-wise, but I do have stacks of things on my shelf staring at me every time I pass them. Like, it just kind of look at me like, is today the day? You bought me. I'm the chosen, and you paid $20 for me. You should probably watch me at some point. Hey, get back here, you bastard. Yeah, just for whatever reason, I haven't gotten around to it. I've been writing like mad the last few days, and I did. I'm not gonna talk about it at length, but I do still keep up with The Walking Dead. So I did watch.
Oh, you're the one.
Yep,
it's me. There was somebody out there.
I'm the guy, and I got to tell you, it nearly lost me at a couple of points over the years. The weird thing about that show is that it's gone on for so damn long. The quality, it's been amazing to watch it rise and fall over the years, where it's gone from being absolute like appointment television, cannot wait to see the next installment, love it as much as the comic book, and then it's gone from something that's felt like a chore. like something that I have to do just because you know what? I'm 7 seasons in. What am I going to do? Am I going to quit now? And I think by the time I got to the end of the 8th season, I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit now. And they got rid of the lead character, and somehow, some way, the show got better. And it's kind of remained really interesting. I don't think it's at the highest point that the show ever had, which I think was probably under Glenn Mazzara, or at least, Darabont's pilot. But I'm still enjoying it. Like, I'm still digging the hell out of it. It just bums me out that when I was reading, have any of you read the comic?
I did.
Okay, cool.
I read a significant amount of the comic and then it lost me. I was
reading it at the same time I was watching the show, and I was like, the show's fucking me up because it's not following the comic book. I'm fucking done with this, and then I quit both.
Yeah, I watched the show for like 6 seasons, and then the fucking Terminus thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never watching this again. It's like, I was so 8 episodes to get to a place that was then like, yeah, it was just on and on and on. Oh, we got to get to this place. Like, there's no real plot, which the show does all the time. It's like, well, we don't know a good story, so let's give them a place to go. And then when they get there, it's not what they thought it was, and they immediately leave. And that's like every fucking season for a long time. It did that. And then, so when Terminus came along and it just did that again, I was just like, I just can't with this anymore. Like, I don't have enough time to watch the things I want to watch, let alone the thing I don't want to watch. So, and the comic, similarly, I thought the comic was better for longer. But it just, at a certain point, it just kind of lost me.
I think if I had to wager a guess, I think people, because I get that feeling that people kind of dropped out with the comic eventually too, but I think 2 things led to that. Was one, that very thing that you said about the show, how it has a structure and then it just keeps cycling, right? And, that coupled with the fact that Kirkman kept telling everybody that the comic book was going to go on forever, it's like, you even get a little exhausted with the comic. And what was brilliant, I don't know if any of you knew about this when it happened, but the comic ended without warning. And it ended in like the most incredible way. Like in the most, I think 2 issues from the final issue, something truly shocking happens. And then there's like an epilogue to that event, and then literally with no press releases, not a stone's throw away from the 300th issue, which you would think they would want to get to be like a milestone. They didn't do it. They just, the very next issue, like, hit stands and trumpeted on the cover was like the last issue, and everybody was like, what the fuck? And that last issue is one of the greatest single issues of any comic book I've ever read. I say that without hyperbole. What's amazing about it is not only is it this incredible contained like bottle story in its own right, but it provides, with its finality, it provides a context and a framework for the entire comic book that you've been reading up until that point. That kind of like, you realize that Kirkman wasn't going to write this thing forever, that was a complete lie, and he admits as much in his follow-up. He's like, no, there was always an ending. I just like trolling people and saying we were going to go for at least 500 issues, and then we were going to go even further than that if people are still reading. And then you get to that final issue, which is like just kind of heartbreakingly brilliant, and you realize it's like, no, he was always writing to this ending, and everything that happened up until this point made sense, even when it seemed like it was just spinning its wheels. It really wasn't. The TV show doesn't have that.
No.
And the TV show will never have that, because everything that the comic book took to get to that point, it's already fucked up in the show. And I got to say, that was one of the draws for the TV show early on, which was, when Darabont said, look, when you show up to the show, you're going to recognize the characters from the comics, but we're going to add more characters. We're going to shuffle some of the deaths. We're still going to be as off balance as an uninitiated viewer. And I was like, that sounds great. And Darabont kind of knew how to do it, and Glenn Mazzara kind of knew how to do it. But at a certain point, again, like when you get to Terminus, it's like they realized, they were like, oh, okay, we're starting to catch up with the comic now, and we need to go ahead and, we need to stave off like our storyline a bit. So let's just people like the governor storyline. What if we just do that and call everybody something different, and we'll put it in a train station instead of like, this little, self-contained town. And it feels like that's what the show has kind of done over and over. Honestly, the show is still doing that, but at least now, instead of doing riffs on old favorites, they're populating the show with at least interesting characters, and they're still keeping the drama high. Like, I gotta say, the current showrunner, Angela Kang, I think, she came on right as the Rick character was sort of seen off the show, and she's really sort of invigorated the series and made it kind of really watchable and really interesting again. So weirdly enough, this is the final season that they're in too before they do whatever the hell they're going to do. I think there are going to be like 3 theatrical Rick Grimes movies. There's going to be like an anthology show. There's going to be a Daryl and Carol show. It's like
Rick Grimes movies.
Yeah, it's like AMC is like, look, we're never.
Can't wait.
we need. We need the 4th Rick Grimes movie to be a crossover with the 5th Avatar. I think those are the 2 franchises that need to just never end, and we need to unite them.
Instead of like in a big
whatever
the fuck, can he avatar himself into a zombie?
And we can introduce time travel. I mean, there's already zombies. There could be time travel. Why not?
So you're joking, but. There is this. Okay, so there was an issue where Rick gets knocked out by Michonne. Like he goes a little nuts, and she pops him with a gun butt, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And the next issue, like he wakes up from like a dream, like a horrible dream. He wakes up and he's freaking out, and everyone tells him like he lost it a little bit and blah blah blah, right? In the 75th issue, as the celebratory thing, they did this. They were like, look, we're never collecting this in the trades. Like, this is never going to be part of the main story. This is just for fun, but for sticking with us this long, in the special issue, you get this. And, okay, so the entire comic book series is in black and white. In the 75th issue, you get a normal issue, and then in the back, in big, bold, beautiful color, you get this story called Rick Grimes 3000. And basically, when he was knocked unconscious, he wakes up in the future, where he finds out that basically, aliens were responsible for the zombies. They are now taking over the planet. He was missing a hand in the comic. They never did that in the show, but he now has a lightsaber affixed to his hand. Like all of this absolutely batshit insane
This
stuff.
sounds like a much better show.
Yeah, I like that.
And at the end of it, you realize, like, they
saying,
frame
like, this is a show I'd watch.
It is. The governor is, who was killed, is brought back, and he's like half bionic now. It's just the most ridiculous, insane shit. And then when you get to the end of it, you realize this is his dream. This was his fever dream when he gets knocked out, right? And I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. But weirdly enough, there's this Image comic right now that's an anthology thing that picks up that story and is carrying it on. So, yeah, if people want lightsaber hand-wielding, they can get it. All right. So, no, I'm keeping up with Walking Dead. One last thing I'll just say, mostly as far as, like, horror stuff goes, I am reading a novel right now, blazing through it, and it is fucking fantastic. Stephen Graham Jones' My Heart is a Chainsaw. Have any of you read this?
I bought that book.
It is so fucking great. I just picked it up
Hello?
yesterday. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can anybody hear?
Yeah, I can hear everybody.
Oh my god.
How am I?
You're good now.
Damn. Okay. Let's luckily edit that. Okay. So, My Heart is a Chainsaw is fucking fantastic. It follows a half-indigenous teenage girl living in Idaho who is... She's us. Like, she has, like, this encyclopedic knowledge of not specifically, like, not just horror movies, but specifically slashers. And she sees everything in her life, which is not great. Like, she has an abusive father. She's kind of an outcast in her small community. Things are not great for her. And she sees everything through the lens of slasher movies. So she sees everybody as falling into specific archetypes that you would find in slasher movies. And the cool thing about it is that, one, that would be enough for me. Like, coming-of-age novel with, like, a horror nerd, that's enough. But then an actual slasher pops up in her town. And it kind of goes from there. But the writing is great. The lead character is somebody that I've never seen in a novel before. I hope they turn it into a movie because it's just itching for it. But yeah, if you dig horror novels, definitely pick that one up.
I literally bought it on I went to our Indigo, which is Barnes and Nobles. I don't know what you guys have there, and
we're American. We don't have bookstores anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Amazon. All right.
I went to go and buy the new issue of Town and Country because John Waters is in it, and I was like, well, if I'm already here, I might as well buy a book. It would seem rude not to. But then I also got this week my copy of Elvira's autobiography finally came in.
Oh, cool.
I saw that you posted about that, and she responded, right?
She reposted me in her stories, and I was like, oh my god, shut up, get out, how dare you. And I fangirled out for a little bit, and it was great.
That's amazing.
That was the whole guys, I know, super interesting.
I need to pick that up. I did not get the chance to see her 40th anniversary special on Saturday either, but I'm hoping that... Has Shudder put it up yet? Can you watch it?
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have?
Yes, I saw it. I thought I saw so on Twitter this afternoon.
Okay, good, because I missed it too because I was too busy watching Midnight Mass.
She showed City of the Dead, which we just talked about in an episode last week.
Oh, nice. Very cool. I saw that what was the first movie that she showed? I saw people tweeting about it, and I was like...
Elvira, okay. Mistress of the Dark.
Was it? Oh, okay, maybe it was the second
Didn't
movie.
She also show Messiah of Evil?
Yes, she did. She closed with Messiah of Evil, and she did House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill. That's the one she was doing. Yeah, and I heard the opening, instead of running the opening of the movie, she did the shot from the beginning of House on Haunted Hill where it's the black and white shot of Ennis' house, and then you see Vincent Price's face superimposed over it.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently the opening, she did that. It was the shot of the Ennis' house, and instead of Vincent Price, it was her face, directly addressing the audience. And I was like, fuck, I need to see this. That sounds amazing.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's all on here. It's split into 4 episodes. It's beautiful. I'm going to watch it all.
I can't wait. At some point, we as a society need to go ahead and start discussing whether or not she is a vampire, an immortal out of the Highlander franchise. Something is happening there that, we've let it go on long enough, I think. But she's 70 and she still looks exactly the same. And I have questions. Is she?
Well, it's because coming out as queer, it's not putting up with men's shit for most of her life, I think.
Yeah, true.
I wonder if that's that might. It's either that or
all the time.
She's
definitely aging me.
Maybe maybe there's an Elizabeth Bathory thing happening there. Maybe she's bathing in people's blood. Who knows? Maybe men's blood. That's fine.
She's got a really hideous painting in a hidden room.
That's a very Dorian Gray situation.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to think the painting is of Joe Bob Briggs, though. And, every time she's meant to age, he does instead. So
yeah, he has aged, hasn't he?
That is true.
Though, I will say, though, and watching Elvira a little bit, she doesn't bring the trivia the way that Joe Bob Briggs does. And it's two different kind of animals there. But I think I just enjoy the Joe Bob approach a little bit more than the Elvira approach.
I get that. I'm waiting for the crossover because now that Shudder has them both, come on, make this 90s fan dream come true. Just have both of them host a show together. How could they not do that? I want a crossover.
Yeah.
I want the SCU, Shudder Cinematic Universe, but not cinematic. I don't know. You know what? If they're going to do that, though, I mean, they brought back Joe Bob. They brought back Elvira. Give me Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried.
You got to bring Sven Gulli, my local guy, into that mix too.
Yes, yeah. Damn it, bring them all back. I remember it was probably about a decade ago. Horror Hound, they did this convention where they brought all of the existing horror hosts together, and it was absolutely amazing. And it was crazy to see that there's still so many. They've just moved. Online instead of hosting after hours shows on cable access or stuff like that. Instead it's no, check out our YouTube show. I think Marlena Midnight was one that I met whose show was actually a lot of fun. I bought this DVD compilation. I was like, oh my God, this feels like the modern version of what that used to be. And I just, I kind of loved it. It made me nostalgic for something I wasn't even that familiar with growing up. But I love it. Love it so much.
Cool.
But Rhonda Shear, come on, just shut her up all night. Like, give me that. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Does anybody understand the reference, please,
I
Rhonda Shear?
guess. Of course I
USA
do.
up all night. Come on. We know what's going on.
Okay. All right. I thought I was the only one. All right. Now, before we dive into the commentary proper, does anyone have anything else to throw out? Anything they've seen? Any recommendations they'd like to make before we move on?
Good.
Nope. Nothing. No. All right, let's go ahead and go into the commentary proper. Now, folks out there, as always, let's go ahead and queue up our media together, get to the very first frame of the movie. I think, okay, so what are we watching here? I know I am, I have a really nice Warner Archive Blu-ray in storage, so I'm watching an SD version on Amazon Prime. Paul, I think you have the Warner Archive Blu-ray that you actually get to watch tonight. Is that right?
Yes, it is not in storage. It is right here in front of me.
Is it in SD? Tell me yes. Make me feel better.
Yeah, they did a limited issue Blu-ray in standard definition, and I was like, that's the one I want. I want
that
I want the standard definition, window boxed.
For the birds.
Yeah, they actually they superimposed tracking lines on it.
Yes.
So I'm pretty psyched about that. And it is a pan and scan. So that way, when there's two people, it can kind of pan on over really awkwardly to the other one. So pretty psyched about the framing.
I don't know how your guys' opens, but because I'm on a VHS, mine does the Anchor Bay logo, and then it goes right into a Hammer production.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and cue it up to the Hammer production part of it.
Hammer
now, Mike,
production?
you said you're watching Amazon Prime like I am, right?
Yes, I am. So we're going to go past that Warner Brothers logo, the modern Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, the absolutely authentic logo to 1973.
And Allie, you are watching a VHS, is that right?
I am watching the beautiful Anchor Bay VHS from the Hammer collection.
I envy you. I saw a picture of your copy, and it took me back to the late 90s when I was a teen. And it was right after DVDs came out. And, we were getting bonus features, and movies were actually, getting commentaries and, widescreen presentations where, it was affordable for regular folk.
That was a big deal to have widescreen presentations on VHS. As somebody who went out and bought a Laserdisc player when he was 15, that's all I wanted. And it was because I wanted audio commentaries and letterboxing, which is funny when I look back on spending the $100 on that Halloween Criterion Collection Laserdisc. That you can now get all that stuff and more on the $6 Target Blu-ray.
So true.
How time changed.
I remember I remember just salivating reading every issue of Fangoria in the 90s and hearing about if you buy the Hellraiser Laserdisc, you get to hear Clive Barker and Ashley Lawrence talk about the movie as it runs as an option. I was like, what? Yeah, it's called a commentary. Get the fuck out of here. And it's like hearing about deleted scenes and all of this stuff. I'm like, where the fuck can you see all this? Okay, Laserdisc. I need a Laserdisc player. I went to my local Suncoast, and I was like, I need a Laserdisc player. And he was like, this older man, he was like, no, you don't. And I was like, hey, sir.
He's probably right,
but I do. And he's like, nope.
He's giving you good advice.
And he's like, you don't need that. And he's like, you're going to want to hold off, and you're going to want to buy a DVD player. And I was like, what the fuck is a DVD player? And he turns me from the Laserdisc section with about 500 maybe Laserdiscs with these gorgeous boxes. Like some of them were just like, they were packaged like vinyls with like thin cardboard, they just slid the discs in. But others had these, it's what we would expect like a label like Vinegar Syndrome to package stuff in, the equivalent to that. And he turns me from that section to their DVD section where they had 12 DVDs. And I was just like, no, I think I want the other one. But he talked me into it. I went DVD, and I was so happy. But yeah, for whatever reason, there was, in that weird sort of transitionary period from VHS to DVD, VHS was trying to do DVD shit on VHS. Like, I remember MGM put out a copy of Phantasm in widescreen with 5.1 audio. Which I don't even know how it's possible that they had 5.1 audio on magnetic tape, but they did it. But one of the coolest things that anybody did, Anchor Bay started putting out, like obviously like Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. They're money makers.
How many copies of Army of Darkness have you bought on DVD in your life?
Fuck. Hell, let's go back to VHS.
Oh,
honestly, probably a good dozen. Like it'd have to be. With all of the various cuts and the bootleg edition and the upgrades and the then eventually, Blu-rays and 4Ks and so many times. And so obviously those were there, but they actually started putting out like Hammer titles in these really great clamshell cases with widescreen pictures. And I loved it because those weren't coming out on DVD quite yet. There was a bit of a lag there, so it was nice to see some of these Hammer movies even back then that I wasn't super familiar with at the time. So Allie, when I saw that picture that you showed of your copy of Satanic Rites, I was just like, oh, that takes me back. I'm old enough now to be able to say stuff like that takes me back. I feel old now.
That's how I feel knowing that there's an I Know What You Did Last Summer TV show and all the kids are like, oh, this looks cool. And I'm like, you don't know.
That trailer is not...
Ellie's like, I know what you did last summer.
I know. Oh my God, when the pandemic started and that meme went around of the I Know What You Did Last Summer, it's like, you did nothing last summer.
Before we dive into the commentary, has everybody seen the trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer? I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to go negative, but you know what? I know what you did last summer. I haven't seen it. And that trailer pissed me off. So, I don't. Has everybody seen
it? It looks like shit, and I'm going to watch all of it.
Same here.
I don't watch the trailers.
No,
I try to.
Come on,
Okay, I'm sorry.
It was made after 1997, so he is not.
Yeah.
He's not familiar.
So seen I Know What You
Did
Did
Last
Summer.
20 years old yet. Why the fuck am I going to watch it?
You know what? That's fair. Maybe we should wait 20 years on stuff because not only do you get that initial...
That's when it's going to be underappreciated. Everybody will be running their article about it, about how nobody appreciated it at the time.
Cough, Dark Castle, cough. Dark Castle deserves its day. Damn.
Well, it's getting its day, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think that...
One of my favorite things that I programmed at the Music Box of Horrors Drive-In this year was House of Wax with Waxwork.
Oh my God.
That's great. That's really great.
And I don't even like House of Wax that much, but I know that it'll sell. But I love Waxwork.
Waxwork's great.
I love House of Wax.
I like them both, but Waxwork is a great movie. That'd be a really fun one to see in a theater.
Yeah, because that one only played it, like Waxwork's one of those ones that only played in theaters for like a week before it went to video. I think that's where most people saw it. So to be able to see it at a drive-in, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And something like House of Wax, that may have never played a drive-in because they were definitely falling out of vogue by the mid-2000s.
That's a good point. Yeah, I doubt it did.
I have yet to go to a drive-in. I feel like I'm not even complete as a moviegoer for having missed out on that. But I just, by the time I grew up, they weren't really a thing anymore. So I don't know.
Publicly shame you on this podcast for not having gone to a drive-in?
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
How dare you?
Yeah, 10 seconds, and then we're going on to the commentary. Ready in 3, 2, 1. You get 10 seconds of making fun, and go.
Wait, are we pressing play? I missed that. Oh my God.
No. Okay, this is a no. Sorry. Okay, you know what? We're just going to do the commentary. Ready, everyone? Let's go ahead and go to the first frame of the movie. It's going to look like, like dawn coming up on a building, something happening there. You know what? It'll be fun. Anyway, go to the first frame. We're going to do a countdown and press play together. Ready, everyone, in 5.
I already fucked up. Hold on.
I already fucked up.
Hold, everyone.
I was looking for the play button. Okay, hold on. Warner Brothers. Yeah.
I'll back
logo.
For seconds.
Oh, okay.
Look at how that backs up. Oh, look at how.
There we go. Hammer horror.
All right, everyone. Hammer time here in 5, 4, 3, 2. Actually, how have I never said hammer time on this podcast before? Not once. I'm kind of proud of myself, but also a little bit embarrassed. Just occurred to me. Anyway, sorry. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play.
Oh,
A Hammer production.
All right, here we go.
This movie just goes right into it.
The eighth
Right into
Hammer Dracula film.
does your
Satanic- pretty good
Dracula
title card
shadow
there.
in the corner?
What's that?
Does yours have like a weird Dracula silhouette in like the
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Okay. I don't remember seeing that when I watched this, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's all I can see.
I remember the first
I
time I
don't know
watched this
what
movie, I was
that's
just kind of
about.
like, what the fuck?
It's Dracula as a Bond girl dancing over the opening credits to set us up for what we're going to see, you know?
So here's some fun trivia about this one: is that this one didn't even make it to the States until the late 70s.
Yeah, under a
Oh, that's
different title,
fun
right?
too.
Yeah, it didn't make it to the States until Max Rosenberg bought it and retitled the film Count Dracula and His Vampire Bride. It played Chicago. It opened in Chicago in October of 1978. Rosenberg, this Max Rosenberg guy, he was from the Bronx. He co-founded Amicus with Milton Subotsky in
Oh,
'62.
nice.
So yeah, he's got some horror cred. He produced Doctor Who into Daleks, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, and this is notable for me because his final film credit was Perdita Durango from '97, the one with Rosie Perez and Javier Bardem, which we're playing on a double feature with From Dusk Till Dawn.
That sounds amazing.
That does sound good.
So yeah, we didn't get this one until we had to wait. America had to wait years to finally see the Satanic Rites of Dracula.
It must have been agony to have to wait. I mean, I imagine people were just foaming at the mouth for this one.
Well, think about this. Well, think about this movie coming out like in '73. This is post Exorcist, post Night of the Living Dead. It already feels dated, and they're really trying to catch up and make it modern. Imagine what it felt like when this came to the States in '78, like post Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
It probably felt like it was 20 years old, you know, like that.
Right.
That's the other thing is it was right. And Hammer was not this is a movie that really, really shows why the studio wasn't going to last a whole lot longer because they couldn't quite tap into the zeitgeist, even when they had like an open book test. Even when they knew what was popular and what was happening, they couldn't quite get the formula right, you know, like, and this movie really just sheds any semblance of like the gothic horror roots that this franchise is kind of typically bathed in, or stemming from, and just goes full tilt into this kind of, I joked about like James Bond earlier, but it's very much trying to do that.
This is very much, and it's funny because this is a year before Christopher Lee shows up as the man with the golden gun. I thought for sure this would have been a response to that because, so we talked about it a little bit on the last episode, how we felt like maybe that Dracula AD 1972 is a reaction to Count Yorga. But then we had a couple like modern day vampire tales past that, including Blackula, which I think is an excellent modern day vampire tale. Like I think it kind of brings it into the modern times pretty slickly. And this one just still, it's trying so hard, especially with all the set design. Like I kind of like this opening, how it's kind of switching between this ultra modern laboratory kind of set with your typical Hammer satanic rites kind of thing with the robes and everything. So it's off to a good start, but this movie runs out of steam real fast, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would agree with that, especially considering that how many times maybe I'll count this time around, how many times do we cut back to that ritual in the space of like 10 minutes in this film? It just feels like we get the same thing over and over and over and over before, you know, the poor girl is eventually stabbed. And, you know, weirdly enough, it seemed like she was having a pretty great time up until that point. It's more than a little creepy.
Well, and to your point, I think part of the issue, not just the monotony of that, but the fact is, you know, they're treating that ritual like it's still something shocking to us as an audience. And, you know, gosh, it's been how many years since Devil Rides Out? How many years since even like Kiss of the Vampire? Right, like the early 60s, where they were showing basically occult sequences, you know, cult gatherings which at that time, was a little bit more surprising and perhaps shocking just in and of itself. At this point, that's old hat. Like you said, we're post Rosemary's Baby, the Exorcist. This is something that is no longer just a shocking thing to have. You have to do more with it than just have a group of people worshiping the devil. And the movie doesn't seem to really understand that. And I think there's that core misunderstanding of what is shocking and what constitutes occult horror. And then moving very quickly away from that stuff to get into this kind of odd spy mix, this spy thriller thing with a virus that he's going to unleash on the world, like he's some sort of like crazed Bond villain and not fucking Dracula. Like, but
it's so imaginative.
It is imaginative.
I love an imaginative sequel. Again, like last week, that's what I like about Dracula AD 1972. It's what I like about something like Jason Goes to Hell. But this movie just squanders it around every corner. And I think that's what's so frustrating about it, because it is an interesting concept to recast Dracula as a Bond villain.
It is, and I like it, but I wish they had done, and again, this is a movie I really enjoy watching because it's so fucking zany. But even Van Helsing's kind of like has to sort of come up with a reason why Dracula would do it. He's got oh, well, he must be really lonely and he just wants to see it all end. And that's just something he sort of infers. It's not something that's really delivered by the narrative.
You have to forgive me. You guys keep saying Dracula. Do you mean D.D. Denham? Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Triple
CEO D.E. Denham. Yeah, he's. I don't know. We see his office later. It's pretty well kept, if not a little boring.
The office is great. I love all the kind of ultra modern 70s futurist furniture in here, but they don't do enough of that, because even then you get the Van Helsing's office and it just looks like Van Helsing's office from the previous film. Whereas if everything was done, because when you get to I think it's the Scotland Yard offices with the big white table, and it's very kind of stark and very almost THX 1138 ish. Yeah, and it's like if the rest of the movie looked like that, it would have that tone.
That's a good point.
Paul, to your point earlier, and Mike, Allie, let me know what you think too. Do you think Hammer thought it was enough to retread what they have been doing over and over and over again with like the satanic, rite? Do you think it was enough for them in their minds to sort of show that and to consider it to still be shocking, and to think that audiences would find that shocking simply by adding nudity? Like, did they think that would be enough, do you think? Because that is, I think, the first time we've ever seen nudity in a completely violent context in Hammer. Am I wrong about that? Like, we've gotten one or the other, and they've danced with one another, certainly, but their issues with the censors up until this point kind of kept them, firmly on one side or the other. Is this the first movie where you sort of get both at once? Because I feel like it is.
It's a good question. I don't know for sure.
I don't know.
I mean, it's certainly that's one of the more
Cry Macho right there.
Oh yeah. Here we are back at the cult again.
Love
it. It's one of the more brazen uses of it. If it's not I'm trying to think of a. You might be right. This might be the first time that you really see like direct, like nudity and violence interacting in this way so overtly.
Well, yeah, like a fully nude woman writhing,
getting
nearly
stabbed.
orgasmically, having blood poured on her, getting stabbed.
And fully nude women is Mia Martin, who was part of another part of the British institution, Benny Hill.
Oh,
speaking of sexuality,
I didn't know. That's awesome.
What an icon. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I mean,
I'm guessing she was one of the half-dressed women on the Benny Hill show. I don't know.
Yeah,
I do think.
Oh, sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
No, you go first. You're good.
No, I was just going to say, like, at the very beginning, it notes, obviously, that this movie was directed by Alan Gibson, who directed AD 1972. I was going to ask you all, like, I think 1972. One, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a blast, and it kind of blew me away to do a little bit of research on this movie to find that critics of the time, okay, they didn't like the movie, but one constant refrain from several reviewers was, at least it's better than Dracula 1972, which I think is fucking batshit.
False. I definitely think Dracula 79 is way better.
It's
feel kind of gimmicky. Like we're like, what can we do with Dracula now? Oh, I know, give him some disco. Oh, I know, let's like make him a James Bond actor. It'll be great. Next time, let's put him on ice. Like it'll be great. It just feels like that's where they're progressing.
Yeah,
it absolutely baffles me though, because it's like you said, so many of the reviews, including Joe Dante in his Trailers from Hell clip that he did, says that it's better than 1972.
Joseph, no. That's no.
That's
but
crazy.
He also says,
I don't get that at all.
Way better.
He also says that his devil-worshipping friends say that this is the most accurate devil-worshipping portion of a film they've ever seen.
So they're all boring as hell in real life.
I appreciate the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just to finish that thought. I was looking at this movie though. We have the same director who directed in 1972. I think a really stylish, good-looking movie with some really interesting camera work. Like the photography in it, I think is great. And then we get to this movie, which was 100%. We get to this movie, which was 1 year later, same director. And everything is just kind of flat and uninteresting. And the camera moves sometimes, sure, but for the most part, it's like, it's run and gun like Master and Two Pups. It just feels kind of not merely uninspired. I hate to say it feels kind of lazy in comparison to his previous effort. And which just it boggles the mind, because to me as a director, he was so successful only 1 year prior with 1972, and then 1 year later we get this. It kind of reminds me. I mean, this movie is kind of like the Saw 3D to the previous year Saw 6. Which is a weird comparison to draw, but same director and wildly different results. And I just wonder if Gibson. There's no way to know. I haven't seen any interviews with him or anything pointing this to be the case, but I wonder if he kind of said everything he had to say with the character in the previous movie, and this one was, if not done under protest, then was done as sort of a, just work for hire. Why not?
I think it's fairly obvious that, Christopher Lee was checked out at this point. So maybe he was too.
Yeah, and it was probably hard to make a movie where Christopher Lee is featured so heavily, where the man was just, like you said, very clearly not engaged at all. Like we talked about this before. Cushing was one of those guys that always gave a shit, or at least he pretended to. Like he was good at showing up to be in a movie. Christopher Lee wears it on his sleeve. Like if he does not give a shit, his performance does not give a shit. And it's tough to see that. I think there's moments in this movie where Lee comes alive as Dracula. Certainly when he's interacting with Cushing. Like you can kind of tell that Lee picks it up a little bit when he's kind of dealing with Cushing, especially in more intense sequences. But Cushing really is the saving grace of the film for me. Well, it's always fun to see them together. But I do like, one thing I wanted to say was like the whole beginning, you could watch this movie if you didn't know the title and if there wasn't a weird Dracula shadow crawling up the entire fucking credit sequence. You could watch the first like 25 minutes of this movie and literally just think it's a spy thriller and have no idea that it really has and with weird occultist background. Yeah, it's like it would be cool if this was handled like as a surprise it's Dracula movie, because that would be kind of neat. Like if you got halfway in.
The way the movie plays out, it's like that. I mean, obviously, all the marketing materials and the title.
That's kind of the problem. But I like that idea.
To reveal.
It kind of it's like putting what the serial killer's doing on the cover. It takes away a little bit of the excitement when it's revealed halfway through the film what's going on. But I do like the idea of that.
Stone Cold Fox right there. Just have to get it out there.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, for days.
I like that belt she's wearing. Makes me, I wonder what she's into. What does she do in her off time?
Yeah. She's kind of the straight and narrow person at work, but you get the impression she has fun after hours.
So, I you were talking about Lee, Paul, and I ran across this quote, which I think is absolutely amazing that comes from him. Do you know what the original title was meant to be with this movie? Which it's utterly just fucking insane, but at the same time, I think it would have been more honest in a weird way. Does anybody know this?
I do know this, but I'll see it. I'll hold back. I'll hold back.
Yeah,
Okay, it is.
I know as well, but yeah.
Okay, there was a stage and film musical review called Jacques Brel is alive and well and living in Paris at the time. The working title of this film was originally, and I didn't realize this. I was looking in the Hearn Barnes book, The Hammer Story. Even though Don Houghton, who wrote AD 1972, is credited with the screenplay on this film, it was originally written by Jimmy Sangster, who wrote in, I think, March 72, he penned a treatment called Dracula is Dead, but Alive and Well and Living in London, which was eventually changed to Dracula is Dead and Well and Living in London as a title. And eventually, Houghton came in to write the script, and Lee was presumably browbeaten by Carreras and threatened with the loss of jobs yet again in order to rope him into doing the movie one last time. But yeah, that was the title. Dracula's Dead and Well and Living in London.
I kind of love it though. It does make it sound like a comedy, but I there's something about it. It's got some flair to it, which I appreciate.
I'm doing the next one under protest, Lee said regarding that title. I think it's fatuous. I can think of 20 adjectives. Fatuous, pointless, absurd. It's not a comedy, but it's a comic title. I don't see the point. I don't see what they hope to achieve. I just hope they, talking about the audience, I just hope they realize I am struggling against insuperable odds on occasion to remain true to the author's original character.
What?
Lee is so fucking done with this franchise at this point that I'm.
Oh, Lee doesn't give a fuck.
At the end, he's like, anyway, see my new movie when it opens next week. He's like at the PR circuit, just fucking complaining. I love it.
Well, he did. Like, apparently, according to again the book, he would actually carry a copy of Bram Stoker's novel with him on set and would try to work in lines. Like, he wouldn't say the lines that were written for him, but he would try and plug in Stoker lines directly into it. Like, there's a line later on in the movie where it's, my revenge has just begun. I spread it over centuries and time is on my side. And he just kind of shoehorned that in. And I guess at that point people were like, fuck it, why not? It's the 8th movie. He doesn't want to be here anyway. And after the film came out in 74, which would have been around, I think, Wicker Man time for Lee, when he gave, like, what was, I think, probably a career best performance, coming off the movies that he obviously hated. He did an interview. He firmly stated, I will not play that character anymore. I no longer wish to do it. I no longer have to do it. And I no longer intend to do it. It is now part of my professional past. Just one of the many roles I have played in a total of 124 films. Just one of the roles I've played in a total of 124 films. Like, he is even saying, like, look, this is not me. I don't care that much about the character. Overall, in my career, it's a very minor part. Please stop asking me about it.
You know what? I kind of love it, because that is totally something, I think, of Hollywood past that I don't think we'll ever really see again, because everybody's kind of, actors are so, what do I want to say, like curtailed by their agents and their publicists to not say anything so incendiary. So it's a throwback to a time I don't think we're ever going to get in movie making in Hollywood again.
And, there was even the case where we could hear something like that. Like, even, and fuck, I hate to, I mean, yeah, it's a shame where he's gone, but, like, I'm even second guessing myself, mentioning this now. But Mel Gibson, 20 years ago, before everything, he did a movie that I actually thought was...
He's a pain in the ass, but he's a good actor. We can't deny that.
He's a very good actor. Piece of shit, maybe, but good actor.
He's such a good actor.
He's a good actor.
Like, it's such a bummer that he's such a garbage human.
It's the same
There's
thing
a
with James
lot of-
Woods. James Woods is a great actor, but I think
Yeah,
James Woods
yeah.
was actually just playing himself when he played scumbags for most of his career.
Yeah, you look at Max Renner, and
That's
it's
really
like,
true.
man, he's a great actor. And
He's
then,
such a good
I
actor.
mean, yeah.
Such a garbage human.
Look, most celebrities suck, and we just have to get past that. I mean, and most of the celebrities that suck will never find out that they suck. You know,
no,
we just
because
live in
all-
blissful ignorance that they
Or
don't.
they just like they suck in private. They don't outwardly suck. They don't get
Yeah, right. They probably all kind of suck, but you know, we just know some of them suck.
but there are varying degrees of suck. Like you get to Mel Gibson when he's just, you know, and I remember for the longest time people were trying to. Hell, I did. You know, I remember when The Passion of the Christ came out, people were like, this movie is inherently anti-Semitic. And it's like, well, you know, not this. No, because there are Jewish people that he presents in the movie that are not. And then, like, he goes on his fucking anti-Semitic rant. And it's like, okay, maybe he is, but he's battling with alcoholism. And maybe that, you know, and then the audio tapes came out where, you know, he's arguing with his wife and she accuses him of punching her in the mouth while she's holding their child. And his response to that isn't, that never happened, you're crazy, no. His response was, you deserved it. And it's like, okay, he is dog shit.
Yeah,
like
he can fuck off into the ocean. Lots of piece of shit. Like,
but before he revealed himself to be a fucking demon, I remember his movie came out, and I forget who the director was. I liked the movie. It was called The $1 Million Hotel. It had Mila Jovovich in it and Jeremy Davies, I think. And I remember enjoying the movie, but at the time, like, and this was during the period where he would have been promoting it. He would have been in full PR mode, right? And somebody asked him about it, and he's like, I've seen that movie. It's boring as a dog's ass. I cannot imagine anybody saying that these days. And Mike, I agree with you. I miss that honesty. And I think it goes toward, you know, I was just listening to a podcast today, and I respect people on the podcast. I'm not going to name it, but, you know, one of the things they were talking about was it's that sort of thing where it's like, well, why say anything negative about a movie ever? Why not just spend that energy talking about something you love and this? And it's like, to me, it's like an overreaction to there being trolls out there who are only ever negative, right? They find something to harp on about, and they just fling venom, and, you know, they rage about what they don't like. And those guys suck.
It's perfect. Like, I saw, like, on Twitter, I saw two friends of mine discussing Halloween Kills. And the one guy is really excited for it, and the one guy wasn't. And it was just the most, like, Casper Milquetoast conversation I'd ever seen, because you could tell they were both trying to be the nice guy and trying not to offend the other person. It's like, but you're talking about a stupid fucking movie that nobody's seen yet. Like, it's okay to be a little mean. It's okay to say, I think it looks like horse shit. You know, and if you're taking that too personally, again, over a movie you haven't seen even, that's on you, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I miss honesty in conversation. I think again, like, you know, if you're only ever negative, and if you're only ever like screaming and ranting and raging and raving about shit, then like fuck off. But at the same time, you know, the overreaction to that, the other side of it, where it's like, we must never say anything negative ever. It's like, no, you can fuck off too. Like, let's just be honest.
Some movies are bad, and it needs to be known.
Yeah, and I miss that. I miss that honesty, but whether or not we can do that on Twitter,
job.
on film Twitter, like actors, no, never.
You don't see that anymore in journalism, the hatchet job, right? I think that's what it was called, where you just tear down a film, and it's almost like they're doing it for the sheer thrill of it. But again, like you were saying with Twitter and social media, though, it's like with actors, like all they do is just go on like, oh man, I love this guy, I love my friend's new piece of work, blah 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 blah. Like where does criticism even come in anymore? Where does criticism and just being a publicist, where do they diverge, or is it the same thing now?
No, it's called Letterboxd, and that's where all of the like scathing reviews are.
I'm always honest on Letterboxd. I am like, I'll say what I think, but you know, it's like, I agree though. There's this weird sort of culture that's sprung up around that seems to be a bit impenetrable at the moment. But
it feels like everyone wants to be nice to each other because they don't want to step on anybody's toes. Because what if they work together one day?
Oh yeah, kiss my ass with that too, because they're not your These celebrities are not your friends. They're not your friends. They may see and they may retweet you, but they really don't care about you. They
They don't know who you are. Who gives a shit?
And here's the thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, straight up, like that annoys the crap out of me. Because I know so many reviewers at this point where they're like, "Well, I didn't like this film, but I'm just going to talk about the good parts about it that I like." I'm like, no, talk about the shit parts too. That's part of the film. Like, if it's not great, talk about why it's not great. It'll help the director learn more. Because if everyone's just praising him, he's going to think that his shitty movies are amazing, and he's going to continue to make shitty movies.
And then you know what that director can do? They can take the negative review, tweet it out, say, "Oh, this person doesn't understand me, blah, 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 blah. How dare they, and then a bunch of their sycophants start retweeting him because they think he's their friend. And if you don't think these celebrities are savvy enough to know, particularly when you're dealing with the film festival circuit, and particularly when you're dealing with the horror film circuit where everybody knows each other, that they're going to these festivals and, they're sitting in the bar and doing a shot with you. They're buying you a beer. You don't think they know what they're doing? Now, I'm not going to say that everybody is so... what do I want to say, manipulative, but if you don't think there's a little manipulation to all that, then you're a fool.
We've seen so many celebrities, and even like B-list celebrities who I'm not going to name names, but weaponize their audience against people, and it's like, it's like, why you got to be like that? Just
I do want to say too, I want to make it clear too, like if somebody chooses not to be negative, like that's fine to me. Like if somebody's just like, I'm personally just going to focus on what I like, then like, cool. But it's like the idea that, when somebody starts telling others like, wow, that's really negative, you probably shouldn't do that, or we shouldn't be negative about this. Let's never be negative ever. All of us. That means
they've all obviously never watched Satanic Rites of Dracula, because this is a movie that it's okay to be a little negative about, I think.
Yeah, and well, that's
to be worse than Scars of Dracula, to be more boring than Scars of Dracula is another one I just think is kind of dull in the Hammer Dracula series.
Oh, I love Scars.
I think I like Scars. I like how we talked about Scars. Scars is beautifully shot and made, but not a great movie. Like the script isn't great, and so I think you can appreciate the filmmaking. I think the real sin of Satanic Rites is that it's not that well made. On top of being a poor story and boring.
I don't know what this Blu-ray looks like, but I have never seen a copy, or rather streaming or wherever I've watched this, that looks good. And I don't know if it's just the transfer or if this movie is just like poorly
so the
shot.
transfer. I can comment on that. The transfer is gorgeous. It looks great, but it's such a flat fucking movie. Like there's nothing, dynamic happening in the color scheme or the shot progression or the lighting. It's all just very flat and straightforward. It honestly feels like an episode of a TV show. From that time where it's just people going in like
previously on Satanic Rites of Dracula.
Like here's the master shot setting up where they are. Here's a couple close-ups here. It's shot, reverse shot conversation. It's master shots of the room. It's just all very functional. And in some ways, yes, that evokes the spy thriller vibe of that time, but I don't think that was a stylistic choice. I think that was
they would have been, If you're going to do a spy thriller with Dracula, you're better off looking to Our Man Flint or Casino Royale, it's worth noting that the art director on Satanic Rites of Dracula, the art director whose name is Lionel Couch, was an art director on Casino Royale. Obviously not the Daniel Craig one, which nobody here has seen, but the one with
the parody, what's his name?
Yeah. And that movie is very colorful and very cool, like very kind of swinging 60s. So
who was it? It was Woody Allen. It was speaking of pieces of shit, it was
David Niven, right?
David Niven, but it was also fucking hell, who was it? Peter Sellers.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. That is I don't particularly care for Casino Royale, but it is a great looking movie.
And this movie has touches, like I said, all the kind of ultra modern like the lights that we had there. When you get to what's his name? What's the not Dracula's name? What's the businessman's name?
Dee Dee Denham.
When you get to Dee Dee Denham's office, You get a little touches of that, but it's just not enough.
They should have named him D-Racula, right? Like something D.R. Acula.
Do the Ed Wood thing, Doctor
That's what I
Acula.
was thinking. That's what
Yeah, Dr. Acula. But I mean, I just think that missed opportunity. But I mean, the log line of this movie is so exciting. It's like Dracula poses as a CEO, and creates a fucking virus that's gonna annihilate mankind. Like,
awesome.
It's this crazy, huge in scope concept. And what it all amounts to is like a couple of conversations between characters in a closed door room. Like they never do anything with this really great idea. And I think that's, again, one of the bigger sins of the film is because it's kind of like the original Purge movie. It's like, hey, here's this really cool idea where, once a year, all crime is legal, but then this whole movie is going to take place in this one dude's house. Like, what are we doing? Like, show us the thing you're promising us, or we're going to be disappointed.
I just want to ask, like, has Dracula? Here's the thing that, like, really, this movie hammers it home to me. That was not a pun, I swear. No, it was not not a pun.
It is now. Well, it is now.
It's 100% a pun now.
I'll take credit for it, but what was that? I love it.
Slide whistle.
But this sort of love it. We could only do that for the rest of the show, and I would be happy.
I don't know if our listeners would be that happy about that.
Oh, they're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But no, like Dracula. By the time we get to this movie, if you look back over his exploits leading up until this film, and then you get to this movie and you realize that his big master plan, now that he's moved beyond petty revenge, he's going to annihilate mankind with a deadly plague, presumably doing away with his food supply. As striking as he is, I don't think Christopher Lee's Dracula is all that bright.
It's a good shot, though.
well, I mean, do you subscribe to the explanation that we're given that doesn't come from the villain, but from Van Helsing, which is basically that Dracula is just sort of sick of it all and wants it to end? Do you think that's what he's doing?
I've never gotten that from the character in any other movie, and I don't even get it here. And if that is the case, like, it certainly doesn't come through in the performance or even any other piece of writing in the film,
Well, the other issue is when this is jumping ahead, but what the fuck, who cares, right? When they reveal the virus and the vial breaks, right, and it gets on that guy, he just dies immediately. He never would have had a chance to take it anywhere. Like, my thought was like, okay, the idea is they have to spread this virus. The way it spreads is by touching people. He's never going to touch anyone because he couldn't have ever gotten out of that room. Like, all four of them just would have died in that room. Like, the virus hits you so hard, so fast that would be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't feel very functional to me. But
I just want that line of exposition, like that bit of dialogue. Just give me a moment with Peter Cushing's Van Helsing looking around, realizing that very thing, Paul, and just quietly to himself saying something like, they're all so fucking dumb.
I can't believe they're so stupid. And then he just walks out, puts on his hat, moves on to the next supernatural thing he's got to fight.
I will say Cushing in this movie, like, he doesn't have, like, the costumes that he had in the previous movie. Like, I thought he was really striking and just fucking cool looking in the previous movie. But there's something about him here in this movie, specifically this scene sitting at the desk and the way he's lit. Like, his face is so interesting. And I know he was, like, getting thinner at this time, and obviously this was just after his wife's death, and, like, he was in a bad place. But there was, again, with he takes the role seriously when he probably shouldn't have to, and nobody else is, certainly. But
talk about two sides of the same coin, like Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
But he, to me, there are times in this movie where he looks like a Bernie Wrightson drawing come to life. Like, he is very striking looking, I think, in this film. And again, I mean, part of that just might be how he looked at the time. Part of it might be the lighting. I have to hope that part of it is I love the slap. Part of it is just the fact that he's committed, and he's giving it his all even when he doesn't have to. And I think, when it comes to Hammer, all the people behind the scenes and in front of the camera, even though Christopher Lee is arguably more iconic, to me, the MVP of Hammer, full stop, throughout their entire history, on either side of the camera, it's got to be Peter Cushing.
I can't disagree with that. I support this.
I think MVP of all of Hammer.
Never phoned it in.
That's hard. I mean,
I love Terrence Fisher too. I love Jimmy Sangster too.
Yeah, Fisher, or even Sangster or
Anthony Hines.
Anthony Hines. Yeah, that's kind of where my mind was going. But if in front of the camera, there's no doubt that it's Cushing, because like you said, I mean, there are two guys from that time period that really just give 110% every single time, and it's Peter Cushing and Vincent Price.
Yeah,
those two actors, every movie they were in, it didn't matter what it was, it didn't matter how ridiculous the fucking movie was, they showed up like it was like Shakespeare himself had handed it to them and said, please do this, I wrote this for you. Do this to the best of your ability, and they did every time. And there really aren't many actors really in the history of cinema that did that. So I mean,
and like something about Cushing never devolved into that knowing parody either, which you can do and still deliver. He always takes this shit 100% seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
even Star Wars.
Well, and he showed up in a couple of movies that were self-referential. Like House of Long Shadows is a bit kind of self-aware, but he even still takes it seriously. He doesn't see him like you're right. He doesn't see himself playing like a parody of himself in that manner.
I guess what I would say about me saying he's the MVP is imagine all the same movies that you and I have loved, and we've talked about on this podcast, right, since the very beginning. Imagine Curse of Frankenstein, Horror of Dracula, The Mummy, like all of those movies, right? Sure. Imagine Terrence Fisher, Sangster, Hines behind them all. Imagine the exact same movies that we have, and pick any other actor, strong actor. Let's think Eric Porter from Hands of the Ripper, solid actor, great actor, right?
Yeah.
And you plug him in Cushing's place. And no matter how good Fisher was, or Sangster was, or Hines was, those movies would not be nearly as good.
It's true. That is true. No, I think it's a strong argument to make, and I think he's probably who it would be. Like, you're right. I mean, Hammer, he's a staple of the studio. He was there till the end. And he never, he always gave a shit, whereas Lee just did not.
never faltered, never,
I mean,
find me an interview where he bashes Hammer. You know what I mean? Find me an interview where he bashes a film he was in. I don't think you can do it.
Well, and Lee was very disconnected from the reality of his career too. Like Lee didn't want to admit certain things. Like you said it yourself. I was like, oh, this is just one small part of 110 movie career or whatever it is. I'm sorry, but Dracula is not a small part of his career. It is an integral part of his career, if not maybe the most important role he played, because when he took that role, he was not a famous person. Peter Cushing was famous before Hammer. He became famous in BBC teleplays. Like, he was a household name in the UK. Cushing was going to be fine. Lee needed Hammer to become the international superstar that he became. So it feels a little bit more offensive for him to be so shitty to the studio when they were so important. And far be it from me to criticize Christopher Lee. Obviously, he's a hero and he did amazing things, but that wasn't, I don't think, the most respectable way or the right way to handle his discontent with what he was doing.
Allie, can I ask you, you're an actor, how do you feel about that notion? Like, an actor, obviously Christopher Lee, it's a little difficult too, because even though Lee was being pissy about it all, he was also browbeaten. He was cajoled. He was borderline blackmailed in a way to even make these movies in the first place, being told things like, look, we've already sold the rights. If you don't do it, Chris, all these people are going to lose their jobs. So I kind of see where he's...
Is that blackmail or is
It's
that
funny what a soft touch he was, though.
guilt trip?
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Although,
as an
he
actor,
did also do the one for me, one for you thing, too.
Yeah,
With that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he got shit out of it. Like, it wasn't like he just completely got screwed over. Like, he got to make Rasputin the Mad Monk because of Dracula Prince of Darkness, and then that required a contract that signed him on to several more movies. And, there were parts in it that, and he got paid, maybe not as much as he should have. But, at the end of the day, he was making pretty decent money by the last couple movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and this movie, weirdly enough, I mean, again, we've talked about it, all of us, like, it's a very flat-looking movie. It had, compared to other Hammer films, a pretty damn sizable budget, which something like £223,000 in 1973 money. So that's considerable. Allie, what I was going to ask, like, can you imagine ever getting to that point, like Christopher Lee, where you're just showing up for the hell of it, and you're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm just going to show up on set. I'm just going to rattle my way through these lines. I'm going to collect my paycheck, and then I'm going to tell people what a piece of shit this movie is after. Like, could you imagine ever getting that sort of
like jaded towards the industry?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm already pretty jaded. I'm only like 32, but I can't see myself not doing this. So, like, if I gotta, take some shit and maybe do a couple films I don't want to do, then I'm just gonna suck them up and do it if it means I can do the fun projects that I do want to do. Because
Can you see yourself? Are you going to throw yourself in 100%, or if you're treated like that, are you going to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to show up, but also fuck you guys? Like, are you going to Cushing it, or are you going to Lee it? What do you think?
Well, so my whole take on that is that I am a woman, so I don't really have the same specs as they do. Whereas in the Hammer world, where you hear so many stories of them pretty much bullying women into getting naked, like, that's not fun. That's not something I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
But, like, as a woman, and if that was out of the question, then I would be like, you know what? Fuck it. You know what? Let's do it. Unless I had something, like, amazing on the go, like, I don't know, a Lord of the Rings movie or something. Maybe a role in a Star Wars. But no, like, maybe they're at the point in their lives where they're like, if I'm gonna act, it has to be for something specific. Whereas I'm like, if I'm gonna act, I'll act in literally anything.
Rocco, so I was reading something a little bit disturbing about the sequence. Apparently this was, and obviously I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but you know what? She's there. She's hung up. It's fine. We'll get to it eventually. Anyway, I might as well preface it by what actually happened in the scene. Show of hands, who was impressed by this character Jane's eventual staking?
I liked seeing the nipple. That was a nice touch.
Gotta get that nip slip.
Well, it was like, this is... I love it. This is gonna be a staple of the show from here on out. We're gonna do the slide whistle until the end.
We'll all have to get slide whistles so we can just chaotically do it.
It's just a wall of sound from.
I like Joanna Lumley's get up in this too. I like the yellow shirt, yellow belt.
Oh yeah,
Stone Cold Sock. I like this.
Yellow? Oh my god!
We talked about the Joanna Lumley changeover yet?
I was gonna ask, like, how do you all feel about Stephanie Beacham to Joanna Lumley?
It works because she is a more mature character.
What's crazy is they don't even attempt to make the characters look alike at all. Like, They could have given her that terrible wig from the previous movie.
Oh, I mean, that beautiful wig? That's like a short hair on top of a long hair? Like...
I don't know. I love Joanna Lumley. I really like Stephanie Beacham in the previous movie, even though she didn't have much to do. I just think it's kind of neat that even though it's a completely different actor in this movie, like the events of the previous movie and what happened to her, they seem to have informed this character this time around, Except... yeah, at times, it seems like they're trying to make her a stronger character. and show that, like, maybe she's taking steps toward, like Michael Varrati pointed out, that maybe the initial intention was to make her the Van Helsing of the Dracula franchise moving forward once, Cushing might stop doing it. And so maybe they're building her up here a bit to be an eventual heroine in the later films. But, at times she seems strong, but then there are other times where two dudes tell her to be quiet and keep put. And then when she's put in danger, she becomes a damsel in distress who has to run into a man's arms. It's like, I'm getting mixed signals about this character. Like, what the hell are they trying to pull off here?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed she didn't have more agency in the finale too. Like, that's when she really just becomes sort of a damsel in distress kind of character.
And especially if they're trying to set her up, which you think they have to sort of be doing that, having brought her back for a second film, that they know Cushing, they know Christopher Lee well enough. They know Peter Cushing is not going to want to do it for very much longer.
Right.
So this scene, the dispatch, the Jane character played by an actor named Valerie Van Ost, she had a metal brace that came around her chest that had an indentation in the front. And I guess that was covered with makeup, and that's where the end of the stake was inserted. And the stake was like, it was like a telescope, like telescopic, like a stage dagger.
Retractable?
Yes, yeah. And so when they pushed it into the indentation, that's when, it says here, the blood bag filled with Kensington gore burst, and, she howls, and it's a pretty great effect. But what's funny is that there was a visitor on set that day watching the scene, and that moment happened, and they had to be assisted out. Like, they had to be helped away off set because it looked so real.
Wow.
And weirdly enough, that shot, in which obviously we had the bare breast there for a moment, that was one of the scenes that was cut out for some of the video releases that eventually came out.
I think that was probably cut from the Count Dracula and his Vampire Bride, because I've read that one was heavily edited, but I'm not sure what the runtime was on that one.
What a weird alternate title.
It is weird.
Because it really has
his Vampire Bride.
I liked how they all climbed over that brick wall with just such ease. Like, I've done a Tough Mudder. It's hard to get over a wall.
I've climbed over a whole lot of walls.
Like, I've climbed over many walls in my day, and they did it with ease and in, like, suits and loafers.
I can still jump
like
a fence, but climbing a wall would be hard.
Yeah, like that older dude, there's no way he'd shimmy up that wall like he just did. Like, that guy hasn't worked out in the last 30 years.
He's got no upper body.
He has no upper body.
I call bullshit on that one scene.
The most unbelievable thing in the Satanic Rites of Dracula.
The wall.
Old people climbing a wall.
Yeah.
Old people climbing a wall. That should be the title of this episode. I know we don't title our episodes, but we should just call it Old People Climbing a Wall.
Count Dracula and Old People Climbing Up Walls.
It's still a better title than Dracula and his Vampire Bride.
It's true.
It makes more sense. It's something that actually happens in the movie.
The Satanic Rites of Old People Climbing Up Walls.
Even the brides of Dracula seem phoned in this movie. I mean, we just missed that sequence. Instead, we have, maybe we should be talking about the high tea sequence here in the office. The thrilling high tea sequence
this is
Dracula's
more
Vampire
indicative.
Bride.
This is more indicative of what the movie is doing for most of its runtime. A bunch of like older white men in a room.
Of geezers having
talking about
geezers having high
Armageddon.
tea in here.
So,
but even the
end of
brides,
the world, eh?
Like they just they're in kind of beat up old wigs, and usually the brides are one of my favorite parts of the movie. And yes, the brides are very attractive in this one, but they all just seem kind of like they're phoning it in just as much as Christopher Lee is.
Yeah.
Oh, they truly are.
Yeah, I agree. And they're taking, if not taking a cue from that act, I do wonder if that influences the other actors too. If your sort of title draw character, I'm sure on set it was pretty clear that he wasn't happy with what he was doing. I gotta believe that had an impact on some of the other performers or less experienced performers potentially as well.
Oh, 100%.
Here we get a bit of blue light. That kind of looks cool. A little bit of light. little tiny bit of color.
We're grasping at anything.
I mean,
to slake
I
our
will
eyes
take
on.
any color I can get.
All right, just gonna throw this out there just to put this joke to bed, but I don't know. Dracula's dead and well, and old people climbing up walls. Anyone?
I'll take it.
Alright.
I mean, I'm fine with that. So, do we think? I mean, it sounds like this for everybody ranks kind of at the bottom of the Dracula run, and Hammer's Dracula run. Is this the lowest ranked?
Prince of Darkness, you're not last.
I can't. Don't even start with that.
Already started.
Don't even put that in the same conversation. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing you just said.
They rub elbows.
Oh my god.
No, I'm kidding. It's I do prefer Prince of Darkness much more to this film, so there is at least that.
At least Prince of Darkness has some atmosphere to it, you know?
Prince of Darkness,
beautifully shot, some great
some ambiance.
Prince of Darkness is very well made. It's very entertaining. It's a little derivative, but I mean, we get some great stuff in that movie. We really do. And anyway, this isn't a Prince of Darkness commentary, but it's great. It's very great.
Prince of Darkness was released on a double feature with The Plague of the Zombies.
Oh yeah.
And that played in Chicago, and you got Vampire Fangs and Zombie Eyes.
Oh, damn. Plague of the Zombies is fucking great. That is like, if not unsung,
it's one of my
Hammer.
favorites.
It is so good.
It's one of the undersung zombie movies. Not just Hammer movies, but like, you know, when people talk about zombie films, that movie doesn't come up. And yet it did things that, you know, Night of the Living Dead would get credit for before Night of the Living Dead. You know, and I love Night of the Living Dead, but like it did a lot of modern zombie stuff well before that became the norm. It was way ahead of its time. But yeah, I love that movie. It's great.
You know, we have this moment here with Cushing looking at that building, the D.D. Denham building that was built on St. Bartholf's. So that's obviously following right up on AD 1972. Like, do they state the year this movie was meant to take place in? Because obviously it was produced 1 year later. I'm wondering if the delay and the eventual release in America didn't make more sense to have allowed more time to elapse, because otherwise I don't believe that Dracula would have resurrected, become D.D. Denham, you know, plunked a building down into place on top of the church, and then started enacting his big scheme. I don't see all that happening in a year. I don't know, maybe, but it feels like more time has passed.
Yeah, I had always assumed it was multiple years. And I will say I do like the attempt at continuity in this. Because most of the franchise, while there's a bit of continuity, it generally doesn't really give a shit about making things really work.
That's what always impressed me about the Police Academy films, is that the continuity in those films is just impressive for a series you really didn't need to do it for.
I 100% agree. I mean, that really comes alive in Citizens on Patrol for me. That's really where the continuity takes a step up. But I do think that can we just make this a Police Academy cast?
Where's that crossover? You know, if we had Shaw Brothers and Hammer getting together for Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, if Hammer could have just hung on a little bit longer, could you imagine, like,
a Police Academy
Mahoney and
horror
Tackleberry
thing?
running afoul of Dracula or the Wolfman?
It's a crying shame they didn't, like, imagine like an Ernest Scared Stupid situation, but like with the Police Academy characters. I mean, that would just work. That would 100% work. You could throw vampires at them. You could throw monsters, ghosts, easy. That would have been printing money. A Halloween adventure.
All joking aside, like, we seriously are overdue for like an Abbott and Costello meets, you know, the Monsters kind of franchise that tackles actual, you know, notable screen monsters, you know. And I'm stunned that, like, apparently back in the early aughts, Dimension was looking at doing like a Jay and Silent Bob meet, and then the various horror characters that they had the rights to at the time, which would have been
Jay and Silent Bob almost met
Ghostface. They came pretty close.
Ghostface, right? I mean, they were there.
That's so weird
to me.
They
were there when it happened.
That's so strange to me that
means
the Scream franchise
that means Dogma happened in the Scream universe.
I personally, when I watch Scream 3, I'm like, that's Kevin Smith, that's Jason Mewes. They're in character. They're just fucking around. That's the only way I can make that work.
That's fine.
Because otherwise, I do think the Scream parody in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is pretty great, though.
Yeah,
Fuck, Wes, a monkey? We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
I wish Wes Craven had made a Deadly Friend franchise, instead of like let's make 5 or 6 of those.
How does this movie? This is a Hammer film, and it even makes the trees look uninteresting. I think that's a first in Hammer history.
And there's not one carriage careening through the countryside.
No,
it's
countryside
is wasted.
I mean, all Gothicism has been like sucked out of this film. Like it really has zero interest in resembling anything even closely related to sort of the classic Hammer vampire film.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I wonder, do you think that's part of them reacting to the fact that horror and horror fans were moving on? They were like, oh, we can't do any of that anymore, so we're just going to do the exact same thing, but without all the hallmarks. It's...
I think that's exactly what it was. And I think that's the problem.
But it's also misguided.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is when you forget, when you get so caught up in trying to do the popular thing, and you forget what it was that made your work so effective, then you become something you aren't, and that is just transparent. When you watch something that is not true to the voice of the people that are making it, it just feels hollow, right? Because they don't have a vision. They don't have a purpose for telling the story. They're just doing it because they think that's what other people want, as opposed to them saying, well, I don't really care what other people want. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I think will work. That's way more interesting. Now, whether or not that would have been financially viable at the time, I don't know. That might have also failed. But at least years later, we could probably look back on it and go, well, this was really well made. It just wasn't in at the time. As opposed to this, where we kind of watch it and we go, yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah. Such a bummer. I mean, I'm just glad we got a Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires after this to send the franchise out on a high note, but it is kind of a bummer that this is the movie that does send Lee's Dracula out,
Yeah. We do see Dracula.
There's no way, no matter how good the movie, he never would have even read a script for Seven Golden Vampires. I can't imagine. No matter how good that script was.
What's all this kung fu shit in this? I'm not feeling
exactly. Like he would have
looked at the title. Kung fu.
Now, somebody pointed this out in the Hammer story.
Kung Fu Wes, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
He's melting silver to use as a bullet, right? Which is part of vampire lore sometimes, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
This is kind of a cool sequence when he looks at the photograph of Dracula and everything.
It is, and it's cool, and I love him melting the cross, and he's going to make a silver bullet to sort of fuck Dracula up. I dig it, but Cushing himself had a very good point on set, and nobody just bothered to listen to him. He was like, but he's wearing a silver ring. I literally take the silver ring off his hand at the end of the movie, and people were like, nah, it's the 8th movie. Nobody's going to.
Maybe it's pewter.
Yeah. That fake silver that your finger is green.
It's faux silver. He likes how it looks, and he wants people to think it's silver, but it's not real silver.
Tacky Dracula.
He got it out of a Cracker Jack box.
This modern
just
age
wants
isn't
to
so
feel
bad.
special. He wants people to think like, well, I have a ring. That means I come from wealth. I'm confident.
Yeah, but this is the second modern Dracula movie where we don't get Dracula enjoying or experiencing like the modern day for the first time. Like looking around and being like, "Oh, look at this car, and look at what is that flying overhead, this and that." Then again, they did that shit in Dark Shadows, a Tim Burton movie, and
I don't know.
Good choice,
don't you think though that's kind of the missed opportunity of both of these movies? Like the whole promise of like bringing Dracula to modern times, but then having him like never be a fish out of water seems very, very misguided to me. I mean, I get that like
they do it with Blackula a couple times and it works.
Yeah, like you can do it in a way that's not like ridiculously comical too, like because I think that the fear would be, well, we don't want it to be straight comedy, but like you could do it in a way that would be interesting, and almost maybe the comedy could come from the people trying to guide him, like sort of having to deal with it. That could be funny and not undermine the intensity of, the supposed intensity of Christopher Lee's performance that he thought was so fucking important, while at the same time not giving a shit about any of it. That's the other funny part to me. It's like, well, this isn't funny. This is serious. And then he goes on set and he doesn't even try. But like, I do think that that's kind of a disappointment that we never see him, or even just maybe descending on the modern world and just eating a bunch of people. That would be cool too. Like a Jason Takes Manhattan situation, where we get like 5 minutes of that and we wanted 90 minutes of that, as opposed to like a boring boat ride. But like, here we could have Dracula just kind of go out into the city and take advantage of nightlife. And you could have all kinds of great like dance club sequences and stuff with really interesting lighting and photography, and then Dracula kind of, like a Fright Night scenario where, see him in a dance club and actually like seduce somebody on the dance floor. And what would that look like? Like that would be fucking cool to see in a 70s British landscape.
Yeah. 100%. I think it would have been a lot of fun. I wish they had done that. At the same time, have any of you, Paul, I know I've annoyed the hell out of you to try and watch this. Please watch it this season. It is perfect Halloween
how hard
viewing.
it is for me to watch things.
I know, but still.
But I will try.
And yet, I see updates every night, sir. I say nay.
Yeah, and things I'm watching on my deep, long backlog of things that I'm supposed to watch.
Okay, on Netflix.
I have to watch like 8 Chucky movies by next Wednesday, so give me a break here.
Fair enough. Mike, it was made after 97, so moving on. Allie, have you seen the Netflix Dracula Files?
We've learned about Vanderbilt.
The new show that was released like last year or whatever?
Yes, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was very good. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was a fun little tale of Dracula.
It to me, it feels like probably the most Hammer of any modern treatment of like a classic monster.
But like, I also just need more Dracula stories to show that why wouldn't Dracula be bisexual?
Well, he does. So the thing that really interested me, like going to this conversation, like there is a moment, spoiler alert, but it's minor. There is a time jump in the show where the first 2 episodes are period and set during the period of like the Stoker novel, and then in the third film, let's just say he takes a bit of a rest, and when he wakes up, he's in the modern day, and he's surrounded by people with cameras and automatic weapons, and there's a helicopter overhead, and there's a car. And they could have done the thing that we're talking about here, where it's like, stranger in a strange land. What are all these amazing new things? But his Dracula is somebody who's already lived for hundreds and hundreds of years and has already seen the progression of many different things and how the ages change, like technology and whatnot. And so he just stands there looking around, taking it all in. And in the space of like 20 seconds, he's just kind of like, okay, I got it. Like, I know what all this is. I know what it does.
You know, prizes quick. Can we for a second talk about Dracula's office?
Love it.
Like, why does he have this? Where did it come from? Who's paying for it? It's beautiful. Like, who needs
Can I ask?
Office on like
On the VHS and the SD copies, is Dracula like silhouetted? Is he hard to see?
His face, there are just hints of face there. So
There's hints of face, but also I'm gonna send you guys a photo keys so you can see what I mean. Mine's very grainy. Like I feel like the
So
thing is super off on this VHS and this TV VCR combo that I have.
the reason
I put that in
I'm sorry. The reason I'm asking is on the high definition version, it looks like Christopher Lee's just sitting there in low light. Like he's not silhouetted at all.
This one, the standard is pretty close to that. Like you can see him.
You can see
I'm
him.
like I'm wondering if the intention was like to try to make this, because he even changes his accent for this sequence. I'm like, this feels like they're trying to make this a reveal, but I don't know if the photography just wasn't there for it, or if this is just one of those things that doesn't translate well to high definition.
I feel like this is wrong. He needed him to be in the chair, facing the window, holding a cat maybe, and then he turns around to reveal.
Petting a cat, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I sent you all the photo of what mine currently looks like. It is very grainy.
Right,
I am not sure if I could even change the tracking.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is pretty grainy. See, that's at least like,
oh,
you can't really tell who the fuck that is.
Yeah.
In yours.
And I feel like for
VHS would help this scene a little bit.
this looks
My
like
God.
a scene out of like the video from The Ring.
Yeah, that's not
Look at that
particularly great. Here, let me send you mine. I just took a picture of him, and it's not yellow like that. That was just the weird way the light hit.
Oh
My
no,
God.
yours is way brighter.
Yeah, like you can literally, he's just fucking sitting there. Like so there's no reveal. And when I was watching it, I was like, this can't be right. Like he's just lit well. Well, the yellow is some weird thing with my camera taking the picture.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
You know, it looks like half the words are yellow, like it's a sing-along.
The best thing to do on a podcast is take pictures and text it to each other and talk about the pictures, so our listeners can't see. Can just hear us reacting to it. Anyway, what we're getting at is Christopher Lee is too well lit.
They know what this is by this point.
We'll post the photos on Twitter so you can see what we're talking about.
I mean, I'm on my fourth beer, so you can't really expect much more.
Man, swinging for the fences tonight. I'm slowing down.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
man,
on-
look.
I'm
It's
on-
the Hammer Pub. You got to have a few drinks. It's what we do. It's what we do.
Yeah,
It's what we do, unless we don't.
Oh, shit. It's fine, unless we don't.
unless
But yeah, so here we go. We've got it. It's all on the open now. Cat's out of the bag. The vampire's out of the bag.
D.D. Denim.
oh, for life.
And we're back in the
Why
base.
that name?
D.D. Denim?
I need like a Batman Begins explanation as to how he came to choose that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not clever. I don't think it refers back to any Dracula stuff.
So let's call him like, something Stoker. Like it would have been corny as hell, but at least, I'll take a Vlad Stoker over a D.D. Denim. Sounds like a stand-up comedian from the 50s. I don't know. Or somebody who would have been on Howdy Doody. It's just fucking weird. Hey, look, this is almost an interesting set.
It's getting there.
These two have zero chemistry. Like it looks like.
Yeah.
He's not that.
Yeah, it's not a believable seduction. What do we think about the inspector coming back?
It seems like from the previous it's like great, I guess, but he just looks like every other British guy in all these movies.
Yeah,
he looks like
and
discount
I think
David
to your
Warner.
point, I think the biggest issue I have with it is his character is not. There's nothing unique about him. There's nothing that makes him interesting. He really is just every other inspector in a movie. So like the fact that they bring him back, it feels a little bit like, okay, well, you want to create continuity. I get that. but you couldn't have given him just like one thing that made him interesting, just one unique defining element about his persona. Instead, he's just kind of boring.
He's super boring. Like, he dozed off for a second, and I was like, I feel you, dude.
Yeah, there's not a lot of intensity heading into the finale, which
He wraps her up in a net. He's pounding a stake into her heart. This is the weirdest sex scene Hammer ever attempted. Mike, is this what you call a roughie?
It's pretty close.
is
It's
a
rough.
roughie.
Yeah, it's rough to watch.
Hey-o. You know what? That time, I knew the slide whistle was coming. I felt it in my heart. I do like the shadow of the cross.
I do like to let people know when I'm coming.
Hit it again.
Like, he
Shadow
truly
of the
looks
cross.
bored in his whole sequence. He's like, ugh, I still have to hold this cross. Ugh,
Can I
just
ask?
water
Oh,
on.
sorry. Why
You're
is
right,
this
Allie. He's
dungeon?
like-
Why is this dungeon so well lit?
Yeah.
Like,
Needed to be. It's a movie.
well,
Allie, you're right. He looks
We're
mildly
gonna have
perturbed.
scraggly looking brides of Dracula.
yeah.
Like he's looking forward to his next drink. He's like, this fucking Tuesday, you know?
He's over.
Oh, my
I-
kids walked in at this part, and they were very confused why the sprinkler system killed them.
I wasn't.
And my 7-year-old, to her credit, was like, you know what? I bet someone blessed the water in the building, so it's holy water. And I was like, good. For a 7-year-old, they're thinking outside the box. I like it.
Your 7-year-old's very smart.
When I saw this happen, I go, oh, I remember that from the last one.
Yeah, they're running. Yeah, I explained to them. I was like, well,
I was doing the Leonardo pointing meme. Like, oh, yeah.
The funniest thing that happened when my kids came in was when I forgot to mention it. It was when Van Helsing was making the silver bullet. So she came in during that sequence, and she's like, oh, because she saw him making a bullet, so she figured out he was doing something. She goes, oh, they messed with the wrong grandpa. I was like, that they sure did. You don't mess with Grandpa Helsing.
No lies told there. Like, he is a grandpa.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have messed around with him. Like, I think she was right on all counts.
You should create a letterbox just for your daughter's like critiques of
reactions.
Oh my God, do it.
now that she's getting into like horror movies, so she can literally say stuff like that, and you can be like, "This is fucking gold."
Yeah, I sometimes I tweet that stuff, but other times I just enjoy it and keep it for myself. But yeah, I should do something for it. But they're funny. I love their reactions to horror movies. It's really entertaining.
Now, have they gotten to the point like in Hammer where you had to sort of check them out, like?
Yeah,
because obviously like this,
I don't want them to see like nudity and stuff yet. Obviously,
right.
I just don't think that that's something I want them to be exposed to. But I'm cool. I mean, generally they can handle, because I show them all the special features of these things, so they know that, like, if there's violence, they know it's not real, and they generally are now thinking about how someone made it. And that was kind of my approach. I was like, well, if I can get them to deconstruct it, which I know takes some of the fun out of it, but it's also a way for me to sort of like justify why I would show something horrible to a younger kid. And I wouldn't show them something truly bad, but like, staking a vampire, like my 7-year-old
Rides of Dracula.
Yeah, my 7-year-old still really struggles with violence. So I try not to show her, like, I show her a lot less than I show my 10-year-old. My 10-year-old's a lot more, like, my 10-year-old watched Child's Play. My 7-year-old, I would never in a million years show her that. And there's this wide chasm between the 7 and 10-year-old, like, in terms of what they're capable of handling. If I showed my 7-year-old that movie, she would never sleep again. Like, it would be awful for everyone, because she'd be so scared. But yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those things. But yeah, I do try to check out the Hammer movies ahead of time. But they walked in at the end of this, and I knew most of the like lewd stuff had kind of already passed, so I let them watch the last like half hour.
Have you gotten to the point, like, the really technical aspects of the movie? Like, Have you sat them down and pointed out, like, pointed at Cushing and be like, see, that actor is trying? And then, like, point to Lee and be like, now that's an example of an actor not really trying that hard.
We haven't gotten into the disparity in performance yet.
Spend your way toward it. It's cool. Honestly, the idea of Dracula leading, well, like a satanic ritual sounds like the coolest fucking idea, and this is so damn dull.
We are really ragging on this one, but you know what? It deserves every fucking bit of it.
I like that we began this podcast with saying, like, nowadays people say you're not allowed to be negative, but you should be able to if you want to. And then we did a podcast being negative, so it kind of feels like we were just sort of setting it up to where people couldn't, like, call us out, right? It's like,
we knew we had to tee it up.
We had to tee it up a little bit for ourselves. And the funny thing was, we started out and I was like, I actually kind of had fun with this movie, and I just sound like I hate it. But, like, it's one of those movies where I do enjoy the ludicrousy of it. Like I said, I always like a good, like, horrible virus that's going to annihilate humanity movie. Although after COVID, it's a little bit tougher to enjoy those. But, like, I do enjoy that. And I agree with Mike that this movie does swing for the fences with its ideas. It has some very creative ideas as a sequel to a Dracula movie, but the execution is just so piss poor across the board.
And I think that's what makes it. I think that's why we kind of are ragging on it so hard. I think that's what makes it ultra frustrating. Right. Is that, like you said about the log line, a spy movie with Dracula as the villain, that should be awesome.
Yeah, it absolutely should.
And it isn't.
That's a shame.
Well, and here they're talking about...
And it's not even so bad it's good. It's just dull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and they had the same writers, AD 1972. They had the same director. Jimmy Sangster penned the treatment. Like, what went wrong,
Yeah, and he just had the scene where he basically accused Dracula of what we were talking about earlier with, like, oh, you want to wipe out humanity and be all alone. That's what you want. And then Dracula just doesn't acknowledge it. He just goes, I've chosen 4 horsemen and this is my plan. I'm monologuing. Like so many people apparently.
He's trying out for that fucking Midnight Mass.
I was just going to make a Midnight Mass.
As you said it, I realized I was stepping on your...
No, you're good. I liked yours better.
Not for nothing. I would have watched a follow-up to this. Like, could you imagine that title? Like, Van Helsing, 4th Horseman of the Apocalypse. I'd watch the hell out of that movie.
Oh, a follow-up movie where the virus actually gets out?
Yeah.
The world. Yeah. Oh, that would be great because that delivers on the promise of the movie in a way. Whereas this movie doesn't give us any of the things that it sort of supposes in its premise.
But honestly, I feel like Cushing should have had his own franchise as Van Helsing anyway. Yeah. And he was kind of going that route with Brides of Dracula.
Well, Brides is a Van Helsing movie. We've talked about this before. Brides is very much Van Helsing as opposed to a Dracula film, which it got saddled with so it could sell. The final shot of the red contacts.
I was going to say, after 90 minutes of bashing the hell out of this movie, did we all get wrapped up in this one moment together?
I mean, the red contacts are always great.
It's always perfect. It's very nice.
And it's pretty thrilling watching him kind of dispatch with his 4 horsemen when they realize that they're not the part of the plan they expected to be.
But this is my point earlier about the virus. The guy who gets it just like immediately is kind of fucked. And he's trying to like touch people, I guess, because he's mad that he's the one who's sick. But it's very easy to get away from him. Like, I just feel like it's not likely that would spread if it's that quick to kill you. And it only transfers by touch from what the movie suggests.
This fight scene, like with somebody racing around trying to stop like one side of the plan and then having to fight, an underling and whatnot, that should have been Jessica. Like, she shouldn't be a second movie in a row on an altar in a white dress again, completely,
Yeah.
just
Well, and did you
unconscious and
guys
place.
notice during this fight scene, there's no score? Like, it's just silent, and it has no energy because of it, in a way. Like, it's just the sound effects of them, like, hitting metal and stuff, and that's it. It's just them fighting. And it feels really weird and unfinished.
Oh, dude, you need him in the groin. Is that a first for Hammer?
A groin? Like,
A
kneeing
groin?
someone in the groin? I have no fucking idea. Someone had to have been kicked in the balls at one point in all of Hammer's filmography before this, right?
I mean, not in front of the camera, but
Well, it took 8 movies in the Halloween franchise for Michael Myers to be kicked in the balls.
And that's what's wrong with the franchise.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
that fucking movie. That fucking movie.
Oh, it's the best out of all of them, and I will go to my grave with that.
Halloween Resurrection.
You're
is the
fucking
satanic
around.
right-
You're yeah.
I love that take. I do not agree with it. Although I do have a Dangertainment T-shirt.
You
Not
know what?
gonna lie.
Shit.
I want
Those
that.
sequels, those Halloween sequels are so fucking bad. It might be the best sequel.
How would you know? You don't watch films after 1979.
I saw. Yeah, you're right. I saw the day after Halloween, which is a completely unrelated film.
I always wanted to pick that movie up under that title. There was one release that had that title, and it was like an orange and black cover, and it totally looked like it could have been a part of the franchise.
Oh,
And,
yeah, they were definitely selling it like that.
And I think every other release, even the Blu-ray, goes under the... What is the other title again?
Good call. I cannot remember.
Hell.
The day after Halloween? I don't know what this is.
I think it's the night after Halloween.
Yeah, what that is.
Do I have to watch it? Is it good?
I've heard it's a good movie in its own right, but it was basically retitled in other territories to capitalize on Halloween's success.
Oh, okay.
But it has nothing to do with Halloween.
Gotcha.
Okay, I have found a Dangertainment T-shirt, and I'm like, do I just buy it? Do I just blindly buy it?
I mean, Allie, if we ever get together, we can both wear it and we can match.
It's true.
Snapshot, also known as The Day After Halloween and One More Minute in the U.S., is a 1979 Australian thriller film directed by Simon Windsor in his feature film debut. Who is Simon Windsor? That sounds like something a guy I should know. Oh, he directed Harley Davidson and The Marlboro Man.
Oh, that's a good. What a picture.
I like that movie.
That's a good flick. Yeah.
What was it? Mickey Rourke shooting like the really expensive bullets. He guns down a guy and says something like, "Best $36 I ever spent," or something like that.
Something like that. That's a good. I like that.
Free Willy, Operation Dumbo Drop. Oh, he directed The Phantom, which I
love The Phantom.
I love.
Slam Evil.
The Phantom.
Anytime they tried to bring back pulp heroes in the 90s, I was all about it. Like The Shadow, I love that one too.
The Shadow's got a great theme song, sung by Taylor Dane, written by Jim Steinman, and it's terrific.
The Day After Halloween is set in Australia. It's about a young, naive hairdresser in Melbourne, and presumably slashery shit happens. And they tried to make it seem like it was a sequel to Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now I want to watch it.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect movie.
I kind of want to watch it.
I think I went looking for it once, but had trouble finding it.
It is on Blu-ray, I think, under its original title, Snapshot. But I really want the DVD that makes it look like Halloween.
Snapshot?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds familiar.
Paul, check your stacks. You probably already own it.
It's probably the Vinegar's are probably
own it.
shit
Do
out.
I fucking own this movie? I might. I have.
It's
so
shot from
many
1979. Is streaming on YouTube.
Oh shit! Okay. All right.
Now, I will say, as much as I have bashed this movie, I do really like this final sequence with Dracula getting caught up in the thorns and Cushing just standing
cool.
back like, fuck, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, all the work's done for him.
It's like, oh, look at you, dude. That must suck.
In his crown of thorns, so poetic.
You get a little bit of a smile. A little bit of a smile from Van Helsing. Sadistic son of a bitch. He's enjoying this.
Finally, after 8 movies.
Lee claims that he actually did this. He ran through the bushes and like cut himself up, and it was like there was some real blood in there.
I call bullshit.
Why would he put that much effort, or was he just trying to kill himself?
He might have just decided to end it all. I don't know. This is it. This is the final confrontation these two had together. And the final Hammer film they did together. Not the final film, because that was House of Long Shadows, but...
Which wouldn't happen until a decade after this.
Yeah, a decade later.
You know what? I think this scene perfectly encapsulates everything about the movie itself. It's a really great idea that's executed so-so, and then it just goes on for fucking ever.
Yep. Well, yeah, because and your classic Hammer stuff, it would have just ended right there on his face, and the credits would have started running, you know?
Yeah, credits. Or he would have like burst into flames and then credits, because something always had to burn down at the end of most Hammer movies.
Yeah, this being his last time on screen as that character, getting dusted one last time. Like, I wish they'd harken back to the days of Horror of Dracula and give him
isn't it crazy that his sort of like him melting away doesn't look as good as it did in like the original movie? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's less impressive with what they had then.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, and that's that. We did it.
We watched this movie. This is the end of the Lee Dracula. This feels like no, it doesn't. I was gonna say it feels.
All
like
right, rank them. Rank the Lees. Go, Jinx.
Wait. When you say rank the Lees, do I have to hold out Brides of Dracula then?
You can include Brides.
Okay, so...
And you know what? Include Golden Vampires, too.
Well, in that case, we're not really ranking the Lees, then.
All right, fine. Rank the Draculas.
All right. So, Bride. Then there's a real steep drop-off in quality. I would probably go Taste the Blood, Scars, Has Risen from the Grave... Prince of Darkness. Oh fuck, no, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. Brides, Horror, AD 1972. Taste the Blood, Scars, Has Risen from the Grave. Prince of Darkness and this fucking thing. Oh shit, Seven Golden Vampires. Seven Golden Vampires, let's wedge that in right after AD 1972.
Okay.
But that's subject to change on the next rewatch. How would everybody else rank them?
The best one is Dracula AD. It's the only one worth watching. No, that's not true. Horror AD 1972, Brides, Seven Golden Vampires, Taste the Blood. Then we'll get into Prince of Darkness, then Scars, then Satanic Rites.
Rock on.
Okay.
I can respect that. I'm glad we all have an appreciation for Taste the Blood, I think.
It's a cool concept. I like it.
Love Ralph Bates. Allie, Paul, how about you two?
No.
Ellie just opts out. I love it. She's like, I'm not gonna do it.
I reject your list making.
Now that I'm on the idea that there are Dangertainment like outfits out there, I found a pillow, and I'm like,
so happy I did this.
Like, do I buy the Dangertainment pillow and then sleep with it every night? Like,
yes, you do. You do. Look,
you can get
there's not enough Dangertainment merch in general, so what merch is out there needs to be purchased. Is how
it's all on TeePublic, and I'm like, I gotta get off this website. Like, I shouldn't have looked this up.
I got mine from maybe Fright Rags. I can't remember.
Was a better situation.
Probably Fright Rags. I don't think it was Cavity Colors. I think it was Fright Rags.
That son of a bitching movie. That fucking fan film that unceremoniously offed Laurie Strode. and made a joke of Michael Myers.
It's not good.
Ugh.
But
The fucking
hey,
dudes dressed
got
as
the name
Vince.
word Halloween in front of the title, so it means
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch
and it
it every
starred
once in a while.
Tyra Banks and Busta
Does
Rhymes.
have Tyra. Yeah, Busta.
Fucking the kids, boy, they had their finger on the pulse in 2002. They had teenagers dressed as Vincent and Jules from Pulp Fiction at a Halloween party. That fucking movie. I hate that film.
And Sean Patrick Thomas was there, hot off of Save the Last Dance.
Hot
with
off
his
of
Ginsu,
Save
with
Last
his Ginsu
Dance
knives.
is good. It's good shit.
That fucking movie.
But
that worst mask, hands down in the franchise. Easily the worst mask. Like
ooh, that's
I'm saying it.
That's impressive.
Worst
there's
mask?
nothing.
Have the worst
Okay.
mask in the
Worst
Halloween.
mask.
Gang,
I
easily.
disagree. First off, have you seen Halloween 5?
Okay, I'll say this: Halloween 5. I actually like that mask.
I like the movie. But I also like I am a whore for the Halloween franchise. Unfortunately, it's just it's bred into me from my horror fandom. I can't escape it. So I understand that some of the things that I like about it, are like bad actually in capital letters, but I still enjoy them, and I just can't stop. But I would say my least favorite mask is whatever the fuck they're trying to do throughout H2O. I like H2O as a movie a lot, but the mask in that movie, first off, it changes less than 4 times. There are 4 different fucking masks. Actually, I think 5. The CGI mask in that movie, if you actually pause and look at the CGI monstrosity that appears on film that was released in theaters, there's nothing in that franchise worse than that. Nothing. I refuse to accept that any physical mask that was ever created is worse than that. Huh?
I will say
I hate that you can
mask,
see his
though,
eyes. The
good.
fact that you can see his eyes is bullshit because he's not a person. But anyway, let's not get into that. The blue eyes making Michael Myers feel human is not my bag. But at any rate, the Satanic Rites of Dracula. We did it. We watched this movie.
I can't believe it.
I'm proud of us. I think we did a real service today for the community. No?
No, I'm sorry.
So?
I was distracted. I'm actually
disservice?
sending you and Allie a picture of Michael Myers from Halloween Resurrection, so
Well,
you can
and
see
this is
that
again the best thing to do on a podcast is to send each other pictures.
Exactly.
You're leaving
this is
out
good.
one of the people on the podcast. You should send it to Mike as well. He needs to see what we're like.
He needs
I don't
to
know how.
On Instagram.
Can I? Oh yeah,
I think Instagram's the only social media I'm allowed to use anymore.
Any
Apparently,
input on that?
Nothing. And I'm currently banned from Facebook for another 5 hours.
What'd you do on Facebook?
Well, I got banned last week for saying that Morrissey was a cunt, but he puts on a good set when he shows up. I mean, where is the lie, I suppose? But then I reposted an old porno magazine to my Instagram story, like off of one of these Instagram feeds I follow, and within seconds I get a notification from Facebook that goes against standards. Do you agree with this? Blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's like, okay, cool. You're banned for 3 days.
Jeez,
and again,
man.
Again, it's asinine with what is allowed to fly on social media. But this is where the problem lies.
So, how much longer do you think you have on Instagram before?
I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take. I'm gonna try my damnedest though.
What's next after Instagram? What
TikTok. I'm on TikTok now, but like I said, I feel like a narc on there because I'm 41 years old.
Oh, such a narc.
You're gonna get to the point where they're gonna have to resurrect Vine just to give you an outlet, sir.
World Star Hip Hop.
I'm gonna have
All
to
right.
join
Somehow,
TikTok so I can
some
follow
way,
you.
we have come to the end of our commentary for the Satanic Rites of Dracula. I think we did a great job. This is, I think this is about as good a commentary as that movie can get. I think this is about as good a commentary as the movie deserves. And I think we should pat ourselves on the back for that.
Good job, everybody.
We done it.
Well done, everyone. All right, wrap it up here. Mike Vanderbilt, where can folks find you at online right now?
I don't know anymore. Who knows by the time this fucking episode airs?
Just give out your personal cell so people can text you.
We want to keep in touch.
773-41. Find me at the Halloweenies podcast. I do scroll their Twitter feed every once in a while. Find me at Halloweenies. By the time this episode airs, we'll be in the midst of October, so we're doing a whole bunch of Halloween-centric stuff. I know we're doing audio commentary for the first Halloween 2, Halloween 2, 1981, and we'll also be doing an episode for Halloween Kills, and we got all sorts of cool stuff coming up.
I'm excited for that. I saw the announcement for that the other day, and I was like all giddy about it because I just love the month of October and all the love that franchise gets. It never gets old for me. Like to me, it's like a staple of the season that I absolutely love. This season,
I never get tired of shitting on it either. Like it's just a thing we love doing on our show. The Halloweenies podcast loves shitting on the Halloween franchise.
Now, wait a second. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Come on, don't break my heart here. Like, how do you feel about the original Halloween 2?
I don't like it. It's a slog. I understand.
We appreciate you being on. Thanks so much.
Look, it's a movie where I completely understand its appeal. And I certainly have a certain amount of nostalgia for it, but what a drag of a movie that is. Completely unlike the original film in the sense that, there's no suspense, I don't think. And to put Laurie Strode in a completely, complete background role, I feel is a disservice to that movie. Pretty good climax, though. The Halloween movies, for as much as the Halloween sequels, for as much as they stink, have some of the best fucking endings of any series. Halloween 4 has a great ending. Halloween 5 has a great ending. Halloween 3 has a great ending. Halloween 2 has a great ending. Halloween H2O might have the best ending of any horror franchise sequel I've ever seen, despite the fact that they walk it back in that era.
To me, the franchise ends at that moment. Like, Resurrection doesn't exist. It's not canon. I refuse it.
Resurrection's, but yeah.
Mike, how do you feel about
H2O has grown on me quite a bit.
Talking about Halloween 2's, how do you feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2?
I watched it once and I don't remember anything of it. And from what I understand, that might be for the best.
Well,
is it good? I mean, am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Here's the thing. I think
I won't believe you.
Hey, can I, before Jinx tries to convince you it's good, can I say I don't like it?
Please, Paul, tell us about the one time you watched the movie.
I've watched it twice.
Irrational hatred of that film. Go ahead, please.
I watched it twice and I don't like it. How's that?
Wow.
Mike, you might not like it, honestly, but I adore it. But what's weird is like you really have to. Hands down, it's a terrible Halloween film. Like
and that's my problem with it. Like, I hate this whole thing where it's like, oh well, you just gotta divorce it from Halloween. I'm like, it's called fucking Halloween. Like, you can't remake Halloween and then go, well, to like it, you gotta divorce it from Halloween. It's like, well, then why didn't he just make a movie that was
if you
this
took
and not called Halloween?
And called it fucking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I would equally say, hey, it's a terrible fucking Texas Chainsaw movie, but for its own merits and what it is, like, I enjoy the hell out of it. I feel the same way about his Halloween 2. Like, it's obvious that he probably came back under protest and he just kind of wanted to make whatever fucking movie he wanted to make, and he used some of the iconography from the franchise and he did his own fucking thing with it. And honestly, I much prefer that approach to just, going through the give me his Halloween 2 over fucking Resurrection any day of the week. I think his movie honestly is one of the best looks at like a final girl after the events of like a really traumatic experience. I think I love the artsy flourishes. I love how gritty and beautiful it is at the same time. I love the performances. I think Scout Taylor Compton and Danielle Harris are both fucking great in it. I love that it turns Loomis into an opportunistic piece of shit, and I know that that's Paul. You and I have talked about that at length. We've spent hours on this. I think this one particular thing, but the thing to me is, it's like that's not Donald Pleasance. You know, it can be its own thing, and I love that it is. You know, I think Rob Zombie said that his touchstone for that character was Vincent Bugliosi. It's like, you know, somebody who maybe had decent intentions initially, but, you know, saw some money in a book and you know, just sort of rode out the fame and sucked that event dry. And I like that. I like that it was that different. It's a different universe. It's its own thing, and for what it is, I fucking love it. I think it's one of Zombie's best movies.
I do appreciate imagination, and I have no aversion towards Rob Zombie, although I think the only movie of his I actually do enjoy is Lords of Salem.
Yep,
Same.
that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Lords of Salem is the movie where I was like, oh, this is a director I'd like to see more from.
Mm-hmm.
And
I am real curious about his Monsters. I hope he kills it. I hope his Monsters is fantastic. I really do. All right. Before we turn this into the Rob Zombie cast, so Mike, thank you so much for doing these two.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
I'll have to come back for Golden Vampires with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that. We have. I know you're a Carolyn Monroe fan. Of course, we have Kronos coming up at some point soon too.
Count me in for Kronos, no matter what, hell or high water. I'm coming on to that one.
Sweet.
That'll be relatively soon.
Kronos next week.
Kronos next week. I'll do it. I'll be here. But
Allie, I was going to ask, like, what is your recording schedule like? Like,
are we doing Monday, Wednesday? Okay, I can do next Monday, and then wait, I need to look at a calendar. Hold on.
Whatever we do next Monday, we are also doing with Elizabeth Kyle and the Plug It Up podcast, so we can have a full house again.
I will have to sit out next Monday. I am spoken for next Monday, but I will come back as soon as I can.
Okay, we will. We'll figure it out. Are we recording this Wednesday?
Are we? We can.
You mean like 2 days? Like, as in 2 days from right now?
Like 48 hours.
Yes.
This Wednesday I am not available, unfortunately.
Well,
this is some top-notch podcasting we're doing right now.
Yeah, we can edit this part out. This is an edit.
Back and forth.
This is an edit. We'll edit this.
This is just for the Patreons.
Let's see.
you can hear all the shit we edited out.
Let's see. What do we have coming up next? So we just did Satanic Rites of yep.
This isn't it Kronos and then something versus the
Kronos and then Frankenstein.
Okay, Captain Kronos. Whatever we do the first week of October, it doesn't even matter which movie it is, but that'll be the Plug It Up podcast. But the next movie is Captain Kronos, and then the next movie after that is Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. And the guy who runs the massive Hammer Horror Twitter account, he's got like 50,000 followers. He wants to come on for that and chat some Monster from Hell with us. So, and then Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires after that, and then to the Double of Daughter. We have 4 movies left in Classic Hammer.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
Isn't that weird?
That's very weird.
Can't believe you did it.
It's been a
me
journey.
either.
It
has been a wild ride.
So.
All right. Well, we can figure out recording times and stuff.
So wait, okay. So if we're not recording this Wednesday, and Mike, we can't record next Monday. How does everybody feel about next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday would be good for me.
I am recording a Dead Ringers next Wednesday.
Oh no. October's a busy month.
It is.
Does anybody have any free days this week, like Thursday?
Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm kind of stuck this week.
We can do this. We're gonna figure this out. What about next Tuesday?
No, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm out, but I'm okay for Wednesday, and I think I'm out Thursday too. Yeah.
Well, what if we just reversed the movies? What if we skipped Kronos and did that the following week and did like something else next week? Just switch up the order a little bit. We could do Monster from
and I was
Hell
thinking,
on Monday.
to cover October, I was thinking about staggering the schedule and doing it bi-weekly anyway. So
Yeah, we could just do that.
yeah, we'll figure something out. I'm running on no sleep, so I'm not going to be able to do any delicate scheduling right now. I am powering down, folks.
Like yeah.
I was dragging during the last part of that podcast too. Apologies if I just started slaying.
Well, just like the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just in line with that.
Ugh, that movie was a fucking energy vampire. Like, it just sucked the life out of me.
That reminds me what we do in the shadows. I should have talked about that during our recent watches. My
Oh
goodness.
my god, the new season's so good.
Colin Robinson, he's my hero.
I haven't watched it yet, so I need to catch up on it.
Oh, Paul, you are in for a treat. Mike, do you? Never mind.
I watched one episode. It was pretty okay.
Guys, Michael Berardi says that he hopes our podcast went well and he was sorry to miss it.
Aw, Michael.
He'll be back.
All right.
He'll be back.
We'll be
All right.
back.
Let's dive back into this after the setup point. So, all right, Mom. At some point, whether it be, what do you think? Like Kronos? We're gonna do some Kronos, maybe.
I'm ready to do Captain Kronos. That's one of my favorite Hammer entries.
Rock on. Paul, we have somebody else coming on for Kronos too, right? Nolan is coming on for that.
Nolan's 7 Gold Vampires.
So why do I keep fucking that up, Paul? I've done this 27 times already.
I feel like every episode we have this conversation.
Literally every episode, and every time you correct me, it's like, oh right, fuck. Okay, we'll figure something out. So yeah, no, Captain Kronos is coming up soon. We have Frankenstein and Monster from Hell coming up soon. We have To the Devil a Daughter. We are only a handful of episodes away from the end of Classic Hammer. We've nearly done it, and then we're going to go on to New Hammer, starting with Beyond the Rave, and then I think Let Me In, The Resident, The Woman in Black. We've got a handful to do there. So we still have a lot of Hammer Pub coming your way, but we're getting close to the end. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm anxious. I'm looking forward to it. So not the podcast being over, but just I don't know. It'll feel like an accomplishment once we get to the lodge, I think.
Agreed.
All right. So, Mike, folks can find you online on Instagram.
Yes, maybe if I'm not banned. I don't know. I don't even know what to tell people anymore. Find me on the Halloweenies podcast. That's the easiest place to track me down.
Rock on. Allie, Paul, where can folks find you online? And what are you doing? Allie, you already talked about it. Your October is going to be very busy. It sounds like you're doing a hell of a lot. But yeah, what are you both doing? What can we keep an eye out for from you in the near future?
Allie, go first.
Okay, I'm like, when you say both of our names, it makes it really awkward. Yeah, well, the original thing that I was really excited was that my movie, A Girl with a Straight Razor, was supposed to come out in October, but now it's pushed to November, and I don't know why, but it'll now be out in November. But otherwise, if you start tuning into my Instagram starting on Friday, I'm doing my 31 days of spooky treats where I make horror movie themed food for 30 days. Because I didn't have enough to do in October.
All right. And Paul, how about you?
Yeah, there's several articles coming out on Bloody Disgusting this month or in October from me, so be on the lookout for that. I'll share them on my Twitter, and then podcasts through Dead Ringers, more Hammer Pub as you're listening to, stuff like that. And then I'm going to be tweeting a lot about horror movies, so
about horror movies.
Check that out for tweet action.
Rock on. All right. Thank you all for being on. We had a dodgy. Oh, what's that?
Where can we find you?
Me? I worked that into the end.
Fine.
I was doing the run up and you tripped me. You just stuck your foot out and then.
She was trying to help.
I was trying to help. I was making sure that we
Trying
didn't
to help.
you.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. All right. Wow, we're going to Cuisinart at the end of this episode. I can feel it. Let me try this one more time. And thanks everyone for no, went too energetic with that one. Wait, what?
I was just gonna barge in and just interrupt you anyway. Just really throw off your game.
It's gone at this point. It's done. All right. Thanks to all of you for being on this show. We had a, I don't know, arguably a kind of dodgy movie to contend with, but I think we had a fun conversation.
I thought so. That was pretty fun.
Rock on. All right. Thanks again. And thanks to all you listeners out there. As always, please make certain to like, subscribe, share, use the comment section below. Scream at us on Facebook and Twitter. That's at ScreamAddicts, and I'm at Jinx1981. You can also find me on Instagram. That's at Jinx740941. It's just so many fucking numbers. I'm so sorry. In any case, thanks so much and have a great weekend.